Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
You push me till I break and the anger turns to rage. Why can't you just leave me alone? You got your finger on the trigger, you think that you're the winner, but you're gonna get kicked off of your throne. No! You think you're gonna hurt me, get ready to get dirty. You created this beast inside. Pull the noose tighter and lift a little higher, cause you're killing me slow. I ain't ready to die. Killing me slow, but I ain't ready to die. Tonight, get ready for a fight. So now you know it's time to ride. Let's circus for a cycle. Round and round we go. Look out below, cause I won't.
And welcome to a very special broadcast evening on KLRNRadio. Normally we have shows such as In the Crease or Asgard North or a few others that Jeff does, and also Sunday Nights with Alan Ray. Sunday Nights with Alan Ray is taking a brief hiatus and will return at some point in October. And then usually we close the night with America Off the Rails. However, literally all of democracy went off the rails today, so we're doing a special broadcast to celebrate the Democrats subverting democracy to save democracy. It's probably the most delicious, ironic thing I think I have seen in my lifetime. And I'm joined so far this evening by our very own Andrew, who does From the Basement. We'll see who else may or may not want to rotate in or out through the night. I plan on running for most of 3 hours, depending on what else happens, because I mean, I think we need to put a suicide watch on Harris, just because not because I think she's suicidal, but because she's going to get Arkansas-sided if she's not careful. Anyway, how you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing good. Been a long day. Been traveling all day. You know, as I was telling you before in the green room, it's like suddenly last weekend I'm ignoring politics because of personal reasons. And I'm staying off Twitter. I'm off Twitter all weekend, and the former president almost gets assassinated. This weekend, I'm traveling, so I'm ignoring news and politics because I'm traveling. I'm driving. I can't be trying to tweet. And we have this happen. And it's just like, okay, I got to either stop traveling for a living.
Jan, are you listening? We want to be your news service, sir. We know you were looking for somebody. Let us do it. Come on, we can do it.
We'll do it. I'll do it. But man, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and start now. McAfee called it.
Dude, did you see the tweet that Jeff put out last night after we wrapped? From like a Russian time traveler.
Yeah, that's the John McAfee. I actually got it pulled up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot who that actually was that he had pulled that from. But I'm just like, now, granted, I don't think they meant 2024. I think they were expecting it to have happened in 2020. But with as much monkeying as CERN has done with timelines, there's no telling how long they pushed that off. But even 4 years later, for it to be as accurate as it is right now, is scary as hell.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, dude. Well, I mean, and that's like there was a preacher I saw who put a video out months ago talking about how Donald Trump was gonna be shot and survive it, and from that point forward would be like marked by God, etc. This was like 3 or 4 months ago, and so this starts going out the day he got shot, and I'm just like, okay, this is all getting just way too weird for me. Hey, hang on. Okay,
that
is this
John Hagee?
actually Laura, or is this Ken pretending, or Daniel pretending to be Laura?
No, it's actually me this time.
Okay, just checking. How you doing, ma'am?
Laura!
I'm hanging in there. I'm very, very tired right now, so bear with me.
Dang.
Are you accepting phone calls from Hillary? She's looking for people.
See, there we go. I actually can use my camera.
Yeah, you can.
She has a job.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, and it's funny because Andrew's, see, I was blaming myself for last weekend because I took a nap. And when I woke up, the entire world had tried to end. It's not my fault this weekend because I never tried to take a nap. So I'm blaming Andrew because
That's what happens when you try to rest. Like, shit hits the fan.
Every single time. And it's funny because Al's in the chat right now and he's like, what's going on? What did I miss? And we're all like, hell of a time to take a break. And he's like, every damn time. Oh, it's funny because we were also just, about this election because it seemed like it was going to be like a complete rehash of the 2020 election. And after like the first few weeks, it turned into anything but because it was like the Republican side decided who their nominee was within the first 5 minutes. None of the primary stuff mattered. It didn't matter who else tried to run against him. Everybody was like, we want Trump. And most of us are like, but we really don't. And here we are anyway. And then most of the Democrats were like, we don't really want Joe. And they were like, but you're going to get him anyway. And now they're basically throwing out 15 million votes and just saying, hey, we're going to do a mini primary before the convention. Fuck all y'all guys because we know we can't beat him now. And just to put this in perspective, just think about this. Can you imagine what everyone would be saying if it was our side who just basically tossed everything out and started over a month before our convention?
We actually had something somewhat kind of like that, I think, back in 2016 with Trump because the RNC was talking about maybe like ousting him as the nominee. And I was like, look, I don't like the guy, but this is who people are choosing. So don't mess that up.
But that's exactly my point because I remember what the media and everybody was saying in 2016 when it was our side that were like, we should just toss this guy out and start over. They're like, oh my God, they're trying to do away with democracy. Where's that now? I mean, this is one of the things that I've been trying to point out since they've been starting to make this noise because the irony is the pundit class in the DC area called this as of Friday. They told everyone Joe Biden would be out of the race by Sunday. And everyone was like, no, that's not going to happen. He's the nominee. And then here we are on Sunday. And I would bet you dollars to donuts that man didn't write that letter. 2, probably didn't even know what he was signing. And 3, probably still doesn't know that he's out of the race yet. But here we are.
I don't think he signed it.
I mean, it looked like his signature.
I don't think Biden even knows that he's been president for this long. Like, I bet he couldn't even tell you what day it is, much less the fact that he was still sitting president. So,
kind of like what Al tweeted out earlier today. I mean, technically, he kind of got the date wrong because it would have been like whatever the move out day would have been. But he was like, they're all of a sudden just going to wake him up one random Wednesday and say, okay, sir, it's November the 6th. You lost. You got to get out.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. I had to put my tinfoil hat on. I believe he's had a medical condition, and we'll learn about it this week. And he will have to resign now from being president because his letter doesn't say he's resigning due to health reasons.
Yeah, they'll probably. I'm assuming at some point we're going to hear, a neurologist finally diagnosed him with Alzheimer's dementia, and everybody's going to be like, "We know."
Well, no, I think
we've been telling you that.
I think it's going to be more of he's had a stroke. I think they're going to do a Dave.
Yeah, it could be something like that, but
without the replacement.
I lost my grandmother when I was a teenager to Alzheimer's, my dad's mom, and then Daddy just 2 years ago. I am very, very familiar with Alzheimer's, and that's exactly what I'm seeing in Joe. Like, especially the sundowning thing, because they usually would put a lid on stuff at like 3 p.m.
Yeah, they were putting lids on things at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But I just,
Alan in the chat again, since they missed Trump, this is now Plan B.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, especially when on Friday they announced that the Fannie Willis trial was going to be delayed till after the election.
Well, I mean, and that's just it. Everything, and I mean, I hate to bring this back because I have to admit I used to hate this nickname, but Teflon Don really suits the guy because everything they throw at him just slides right off, and he's like, "I'm still here, fuckers. Now what you got?"
I love how you almost said that it stuck. I caught it.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, but no, I mean, seriously though, I just it's just, and it's one of the nicknames that I used to hate for him during the first election cycle. But it's such a true nickname because everything they've tried to come at him with, they can't get him. I mean, it's like everybody's been talking about. First, they tried to keep him off the ballot. Then they tried to throw him in jail. Now they've tried to kill him, and he's still here.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, what more sign do you need that obviously he's the person that's probably supposed to be the next president of the United States when everything you tried to do to tear him down?
Most of the left doesn't put that much kind of stock into things like this. Like me and you obviously understand that everybody in power is good or bad. They're placed in power. They're allowed to be in power.
Exactly.
And it's by God.
I look at it more as a God's not surprised.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's like,
I mean, you can't be surprised. He authored every moment in history.
Well, that's just it. I mean, people, they don't understand that God does not exist in our time. He exists outside of time.
Yeah. I was actually having that conversation with people last night.
Well, right now, he sees us, but he's also seeing Noah. And he's seeing David and Solomon and Jesus, and he sees all of it at once. He's outside of time.
Our future generations as well. I mean, past, present, future, everything, all of it.
He knows what's going to happen.
I think the best explanation that I've ever had as far as the difference between how man views things and God views things, and it was in a book that I had to read through for my seminary training, was how with people we have this linear measurement of time, which doesn't even technically exist except for us because that's how we measure things. So we see things in this finite window. So it's like looking at a parade. We see the parade as it's coming by right in front of us for the finite window that it's in front of us. God is viewing the parade from a blimp. So he sees the beginning, the middle, and the end all at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was something that's kind of resonated with me. And it was one of the things that when I started hearing people, last week when Trump was shot, oh, God changed the trajectory of the bullet. No, you're thinking too small. He didn't have to change the trajectory of the bullet. He set that bullet in motion by his own hand hundreds of thousands of years ago. He decided where the bullet was going to go. He didn't have to change anything.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind, again, most people on the left, very, very secular people. I mean, atheist, agnostic, but everything in between the two, except for Christians. There's a very, I would say, small minority of Democrats or leftists that would call themselves Christians.
And most of them usually just call themselves that around their family just to avoid scorn or ridicule or whatever, and they don't actually believe it.
Or it's like the Rhinos. I mean, they're Christian in name only. I mean, they were raised that way. They kind of still believe it, but
I mean, not that that's what this show is about. So we'll get off topic and I'll change back to the regular topic in a second. But we do have we have this insane thing going on with Christianity now that has been called cafeteria Christianity for a long time, where basically you just kind of pick and choose the parts of it that you want and then leave the rest of it behind. I'm just like
buffet style.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I mean, it's one of the things that I've tried to explain to everybody because it's part of what I do. Hey, now Andrew's broadcasting us too. Wow, we're going out everywhere.
I just realized I wasn't. I just realized I wasn't.
But anyway, I mean, but the thing about it is, just watching all of this unfold and knowing in a way that it was probably going to happen, because hearing folks like George Clooney, like 2-3 weeks ago, come out and say, yeah, the guy that you saw at the debate was the same one that I saw on at the fundraiser, and I'm just like, if you knew then, why didn't you tell anyone? But the thing that I don't think the Democrats have gone onto yet, and well, they probably wouldn't have if not for the fact that the Trump campaign was really quick on the draw, because the second he endorsed her, they dropped a campaign ad, like within 30, 45 seconds. And they're like,
well, I think they had that, right? That was a
well, yeah,
Fox
I mean,
News
they obviously
mentioned that
had it ready
today.
to go. Yeah, I mean, they obviously had it ready to go, because it's like as soon as the news broke, it was there. And it was just, it was highlighting, not only did she know about all of this, she's one of the people that helped cover it up, and now they're wanting to put her at the top of the ticket. But the thing
I'm assuming that they probably had videos ready to go of just about any prominent Democrat that they would have chose, because I would have thought they'd have gone with somebody like Newsom.
Well, the thing about it is, they honestly really, they can't. And this is the thing that nobody really talks about. All of this funding and everything is completely locked up under the Biden-Harris ticket. The only thing that may save them is if she does actually assume the top role of the ticket, then they may get to keep most of the funding, but it's still going to restrict some of it. And if they leapfrog onto somebody else, the biggest part of that money is just gone. And then the part that's left over, they still can't touch. After the convention, the DNC can, or it can go to a super PAC, but either of those organizations doesn't have the ad buy power that the campaign does. So you're talking about cutting their funding in half. You're talking about basically it also only being able to go about 2/3 as far as it would have went before. So you're hamstringing your entire campaign just because you're so afraid the other guy is going to win that you're ready to cut off your nose to try to save your face. That's where we are.
Yeah, I would agree to that.
Well, the thing also, they talked about this on Fox News today. I listened to it while I was driving in New York. So I kind of feel good about the fact.
Oh, hang what? You said New York, I feel good, and then I don't hear anything else.
I had something start playing. I had to turn it off. I lost my train of thought. No, the Fox News was talking about this, and they're saying that's the big one they gotta talk about and figure out what's going on, because I think it was Brett Human that said it. He said, like, well, the lawyers are going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. Because if Harris isn't part of it, then it goes to the courts, and they've got to figure out the FEC, because the FEC head tweeted about it with the rule. So it's all going to be on the courts, I think, and that's going to be an interesting one, because they're going to have to justify it, because Trump will fight it.
I just don't see how they even think they remotely have the time
to what they can
reset and spin up an entirely new campaign. That's
what the FEC head said was all that money's got to be returned. Right.
Oh, see, I hadn't heard that. So see, that's new information even to me. So if they're already saying at this point all that money's got to go back, that means they have to start the fundraising train over again.
Well, no, if Harris and Biden, if Harris can't get it, right? If she can't get that money because she was part of the ticket, then the money has to be returned to the donors. That's what the head said. So basically, they can do that, and the donors can turn right around and give it to whoever they want.
Yeah, but I mean,
a lot of that's not going to be determined until after the convention.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, I mean, you've got to look at this from another perspective, though. They just pissed off 15 million voters to try to quote unquote save democracy. I don't think. I mean, some of them are. I'm not talking about the elites at this point. I'm talking about the rank and file Democrat voters. They are going to be pissed. They're already losing people because of everything that that Abbott and DeSantis have done with pushing, migrants onto the people that were claiming they wanted to be sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. Once they started having to see what they were going to have to put up with, they've already started losing people. Biden's brought so many people into the country that even the people that are coming in illegally, when they get asked, are like, no, shut it behind us. We're good now.
Oh, yeah. Well, but as Rooster says, to be fair, the campaign was isn't going to be about reelect us because we got the better platform. It's going to be reelect us to stop Trump.
Well, no,
So
but that's
that
but that's
14
just
million
it.
people, out of that 14 million people, how many of them are just going to try to stop Trump?
I was like, but that worked for them in 2020.
Yeah.
That was the entire platform, was just, hey, get rid of Trump. Doesn't
Well,
matter
but-
who you vote for. We just got to get rid of him.
But there were reasons it worked in 2020 that I don't think it's going to work in 2024.
Yeah,
2020,
the dynamics have changed completely.
2020,
this
the
year.
entire news cycle was negative Trump, negative Trump, negative Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, look what he's tweeting now. Look what he said now. Oh, look at, he said to inject yourselves with bleach. He did this. He did that. And now
we'll
even
cut down his quotes and show you just a bit and piece of it and say this is what he said.
yeah, and well, the funny thing is, even the liberal fact checkers now, 4 years too late, are coming out and saying, well, he didn't actually say this, he didn't actually say that, he didn't actually say this, he didn't actually say that. And now they're being called traitors. When in reality, they're just like, we better start being honest or we're probably going to be in trouble soon. Because
they started realizing how the media is really starting to be viewed now by the average American. And they're like, oh, okay, we have to shift direction now. Like, because this is not good for us.
I mean,
you got organizations shutting down left and right and laying people off. So,
yeah. I mean, well, not to mention that. I mean, and this is something that I've only heard a couple of people mention. If Harris winds up being the one at the top of the ticket, she will be the most liberal head of a Democratic ticket ever, to the left of everybody, including Jimmy Carter, how much more liberal that she is. And that is going to turn off a lot of the left of center Democrats. I mean, because how many Democrats do you know? Because I've seen several lately that, because when all the people on the right got mad about Trump, I didn't leave the GOP left me. Now you're hearing the Democrats say the same thing. I didn't leave the Democratic Party, it left me. That's
the Democrat Party doesn't realize that, okay, yes, they have this very, very loud and vocal faction of their side.
Yep.
But that's a very small minority too, and they're the ones that they're trying to listen to. So all the normal people, the bulk of their voting base is like, what are you doing? These people are insane. Like,
I didn't sign up for any of this. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Well,
I would say the average Democrat voter is probably not as fanatical as like the people we encounter on Twitter every day.
No, I mean, I know they're not, because if they were, that, I mean, the reason why I really started to think that Twitter was starting to imitate life and vice versa was in 2020 when everything was starting to spill over into the streets. But I had no idea how much that was being organized behind the scenes by a couple of different groups just to push things further over the edge, because they knew how tired everybody was of Trump. So they showed everybody the outrage, thinking this is all his fault. I mean, hell, you had Harris when Trump was trying to save, it was someplace in Oregon, one of the places that a courthouse was under siege or something, and he tried to call in the National Guard to fix it, and she was denouncing
them. Not Seattle, Portland.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was Portland, but yeah, it was just, I mean, there's just so many different things that were all happening all at the same time in 2020. I mean, they had to glom on to a global pandemic and blame him for it to get him out of office the first time. And then they had to put all kinds of rules in place so they could say, well, it's not really cheating because we followed the COVID rules, and it doesn't matter that truckloads of ballots showed up at 3 a.m. after we told you we were done counting because COVID rules. I don't think they can do it this time.
But so they definitely can't use a pandemic this time, but I mean, I still don't put it past them to try something.
Well, no, I fully expect them to try something. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think momentum has shifted so much that I don't think they can outperform it this time. I really don't think they can, because
like the assassination attempt mobilized, I think, so many people and kind of re-energized them, and I think we're going to see probably like a record turnout this year in November. And I'm hoping it's in our favor and not theirs. So
yeah, I think it's going to be, because too many people that I know that were even on the fence, and don't get me wrong, there are a few people that were on the fence that have gone the other way, but most of the people that I know that were on the fence now aren't on the fence anymore. And I still kind of considered myself on the fence, honestly, because even though I was going to vote for him, it wasn't really because I absolutely positively wanted to vote for him. It was because I thought he was the best of the two options we had available. And now it's like they tried to kill him. So as far as I'm concerned, everybody should be voting for him just so that we can get people in there that will clean out the rot, because nothing about that story makes sense either. And the more we learn about that, the less sense that it makes. And I'm just
that's like what I posted the other night. I was like, the more that I'm finding out about this, like, did the Secret Service, did like the higher ups and everything just allow this to happen then? Because it certainly seems to be that way.
They told the state police to stay home.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Why would you
I don't
do
know
that?
how you answer those questions here without it being, well, yeah, we knew what was going to happen and we just decided to let it happen. Like, see where it goes.
I mean, that's just it. They knew there was a potential assassination attempt. They had heard through back channels and everywhere else that somebody funded by likely Iran was trying to assassinate former President Trump. So instead of doing something about it, they told the state police to stay home. The shooter had a drone. You know who else would have had a drone if they had been there? The state police. There would have been more ERT. There would have been more snipers. There would have been so many other things that were available, except for the state police were still told to stay home. And then you have Cheeto telling everybody, well, we left that up to the local police to do the perimeter. And the local police are like, the hell you didn't. We gave you most of our people and you told them to go do traffic control. I mean, none of this makes any sense.
There's a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions.
No answers.
Oh yeah. Well, the one thing that I heard, I think it was Friday evening, sometime Friday, where they said that Cheeto probably will resign over the weekend, so she doesn't have to talk to Congress.
It won't matter. They've still subpoenaed her.
I said that's what Daniel was saying, that she was going to resign before they could question her.
Yeah, they've already subpoenaed her, though. She'll still have to show up, or legally have to show up, but that's the Democrats. So.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't.
Well,
her being a Democrat, too, and out of office already, they won't force it.
Oh, yeah. Y'all say hey to Miko because he's rotten.
What?
He's a good boy.
Oh, I wasn't on. I didn't have my camera up or my screen up. I was chatting.
Yeah,
he's a good boy.
She'll resign before she gets called forward, and they'll just drop it. They won't ever call her forward.
I don't think so.
Pursue it.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing, and this is going to probably start becoming my mantra if this is the case. If she resigns and if nobody pushes the issue, because the House can only push things so far with this stuff. So if that happens, then that needs to start being the mantra of we need to put somebody into the White House that is going to get us answers as to what the hell is going on with our administrative state.
Oh,
because
I agree. Any well-minded, normal human being would think that, but the left won't. They won't care. There's not enough of them to make up a noise to call for that. We'll just be the same conservative right-wingers, screaming for some sort of answers, and it all gets blown away because there's not enough. The Democrats don't care, and there's not enough Republicans in power to push it because they're afraid they'll get called mean.
Well, not yet.
Oh, yeah. Eventually, hopefully, this will be a turning point. But I think.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. This needs to start. If everything goes the way we suspect it's going to go, and I am about 90% sure that you're correct, that needs to start being our rallying cry. We need a majority in both houses and a Republican president, so that we can put people in charge to finally figure out what the hell happened to the administrative state in America. And we can go as far back as pointing to everything that happened under Fauci and all the stuff that he lied to us about. I mean, the administrative state in this country is out of control. And those were the people that basically did everything they could to stop Trump and started mobilizing everybody behind the scenes to do it. And those are the people that we need to clean house. It's just that simple.
Well, I think that's the reason too. They're Project 2025 is such the boogeyman now, because it gets back to federalism and the actual role and responsibility of our government. And so many of these big government Democrats are terrified of that. They do not want us to go back down to federalism and states' rights and individual rights. And so
Well, yeah, because
2025 is the boogeyman now.
Well, yeah,
I
because
heard that's going to put a taco in every house.
Yeah. The to get things changed, though, that rallying cry, like you're talking about, Rick, I agree with you. But I think for anything to get the right people in office, we'd have to get rid of at least 45% of the Republicans sitting in office now.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Which I would love for that to happen. Don't
So
get me
I'd
wrong,
love to just
but
go in and clean house, like everybody gets replaced.
Yeah.
Like just ground level
It's
stuff
just
from there.
I did that one year.
Right,
I did that back in the 90s. It pissed me off back in the 90s, so I ended up voting nobody that was an incumbent.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Which
tried to
one?
do that a lot. When they primary each other.
I say you got to keep in mind I was little in the 90s. So
Yeah.
like I vaguely remember like Clinton Dole, because my parents had the Dole buttons that they got from work. But that's like the only ones I remember. Reagan was president when I was born, but I have no memory of that whatsoever.
I feel so old.
I'm a baby.
You,
Deal. He's a dirty old man.
you.
I mean, I remember so, and this is probably what locked Reagan in as probably one of my all-time heroes. I remember sitting in second grade watching that speech on TV and watching him be shot live in my classroom. We literally saw the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan on the TV in my second grade class. And there was no, we've got to let the kids go home. It was none of that. It was, okay, kids, we're going to turn off the TV and it's time for your spelling test. Just almost watched the president of the United States get assassinated, and we just went straight into their spelling test.
Yeah, you had to go to the spelling test wondering, wait, did he live yet? Hold on. All we saw was the shot. We don't know. We need some answers here.
I mean, I was only like 8, so I wasn't really that tuned into it yet, but it's just one of the things that kind of cemented it for me. And then looking at the difference between how things went after the 2016 run up and then the swearing in, and then, like, you know, calling special days in college for kids to get pizza and bring their coloring books and come to class in their pajamas and everything else. I'm like, dude, I was in the second grade, watched Reagan be shot, and had to go take a spelling test. Y'all are some messed up individuals. You can't. It was an election. Nothing bad even happened. Right. There was a peaceful transition of power, except for on your side, because you've been the ones rioting and screaming in the streets. And this is one of the things that I wish our side did a better job of just putting back in their faces. Is, yes, January 6th was a terrible thing. It was, January 6th. J6. January 6th was a terrible thing. But it wasn't anything what the media tried to make it out to be. No. And there were weeks and weeks of things that happened that were much worse between the time that they knew who won the election on November 6th or whatever. I think it was 5th, 6th. Trying to think going back that far. But the day from the morning after the election until the day he was sworn in, there was rioting and happening everywhere. And nobody wants to talk about it. It's just nuts. Because anytime they bring up J6, I'm one of the first ones that are saying, hey, you remember this? Hey, you remember this? You remember this? Oh, that's different. How's it different? Explain to me how it's different. There were riots literally within 3 blocks of the Capitol on the day that he was sworn in. Nobody talks about those things because they managed to stop them. Now we've got the video of Pelosi admitting that she screwed up. There's a video that got leaked years later that says, this is on us. We did it wrong. Mm-hmm. But they keep trying to point it back to him. But they keep trying to point it back to him because he's Hitler. Because that's been their rallying cry for forever. As soon as they took the Charlottesville comment out of context and made him the next Hitler. And they still stay with that. Which is why they spun up this whole thing of we've got to beat Trump and we've got to beat him at all costs. And now they know they can't. So now they need a do-over. And I'm just there going, if our side had taken things this far, we would be being excoriated in the media.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's like you said, the way they go with after Trump about him being literal Hitler and all that. It's shown time and time again where they'll say he said one thing or he meant one thing, and the proof can be put out. Like, no, here's the proof. Here's the entire statement. Here's what it is in context. It doesn't mean what you say it means. And their answer is like, yeah, but he's Hitler. Well, no. Well, I know you think that because he said this, but if you take this in its whole context, this is really what he meant. So here's your proof to show that he's not. Yes, but he's Hitler. Okay. I mean, there's nothing the man can do right that's ever going to change their mind. You know what I'm saying? He's always going to be the victim, not the victim, but he's always going to be the enemy, and they're always going to be the victim. And the state of the world is in balance. So,
but I mean, and I agree, but I guess the thing that drives me nuts is you can go back and the man has lived his entire life pretty much in front of cameras.
mm-hmm.
You can see all of the things that he's done when you're getting awards for helping the African American community from Jesse Jackson, when you're friends with Al Sharpton, when you've been on Oprah's show more times than pretty much any other guest, when you've helped launch almost every single talk show career ever, and I think this is why he took a lot of the things that he took so hard. And I think it's why he seemed like there was a time that you could just tell that he was completely angry and just completely off the charts angry. But it's because all of these people that he thought were his friends, he suddenly found out that they weren't. And that is something that goes all through him. I mean, I've seen it from just the people that have come out and started talking about him now that he was nearly assassinated, that apparently never had the guts to stand up and say anything before, like Hulk Hogan, for one, who admitted, hey, I've known this man for over 30 years. What you see is what you get. He's loyal. He's strong. He tells you what he thinks, even if you don't like it. And I'm like, where was this 4 years ago? Mm-hmm. If we'd had this 4 years ago, we might not have even ever had to have gotten into this place.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, it's like even in 2016, almost everybody that I know from Hollywood who voted for him wouldn't even say that they voted for him until after they saw that he won.
Right. Well,
oh yeah, I voted for that guy.
And that's the thing too, is like he's always been a Democrat up to that point when he decided to jump into the race. And I think, like you said, he got angry because everybody started showing their true colors and turning on him. And I agree with that.
Can I just be real for a second? Donald Trump is still a Democrat.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
I think he's
Donald Trump is a Kennedy Democrat.
Yeah,
Donald Trump is a JFK Democrat.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly what I was going to get to. He's like I said, Donald Trump hadn't changed. He run as a Republican because the Democrat Party was no longer his party, in my opinion.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's something that I was pointing out with Laura, I think, before you joined the stream, is there's been such a momentum shift because there are more and more working class blue collar people that are leaving the Democrat Party in droves because they don't feel like they represent them anymore. From everything from the pronoun wars to the gender wars to all of it, they just don't feel like the Democratic Party represents them anymore. And I've seen the same thing even from Elon Musk, because the leftists are all freaking out over the head of the Teamsters speaking at the GOP, and because it's never happened before. And they're like, when did we lose that part of our party? Probably when you went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Elon even posted that meme that always goes around about how, just basic conservatives and even some Democrats became quote unquote far right. And it's that kind of graph where you see like the crazy people shoving everybody further and further to the left. That's how it seems like we are far right now, because they have moved so far to the left that we haven't really moved. Our values, our principles as conservatives have been pretty static for decades. Like it's all the same thing, very small government, fiscally responsible, all that kind of stuff. Now all this is seen as dangerous and everything because these people have gone so far to the left. Like they took off at a sprint to the left. And now we're all over here. So they're like, oh, you're far right now. Because we're so much further to the right than they ever will be.
Well, we've seen that here in the last 20 years. Look at Joe Lieberman. Look at Mancini.
Oh, there's the name I haven't heard in forever.
But I mean, it just, both of those, right? Your classic Democrat, go back 40, 60 years now. Your classic Democrat, yeah. They were all about helping the little guy. They also loved America. Right? I'm sorry, but you look at Lieberman, you look at Mancini, and look at Fetterman. Fetterman reminds me very much of the classic Democrat, your classic liberal.
I say Fetterman has surprised the crap out of me, and I love Fetterman 2.0 right now. Like, I mean, he's not somebody I think I'd ever vote for, but I'm like, hey, at least you're somebody that we can reason with.
You can work with him, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was, I want to say the 90s was the last time you actually saw Congress work together. Right? And that's when
I would agree with that.
That's when they worked with Clinton, because he had a GOP that forced him to work with them. I mean, that's how we got supposedly the balanced budget that got blown up by GW. And yes, you're right, Rooster. They kept re-electing Ted Kennedy, but I think that's because they knew he would kill him. Because I mean, look what he did with Mary Jo, and so yeah, I mean, they worked together. GW got elected, and we had that whole hanging Chad thing going on, and suddenly neither Congress can work together. They worked together for 9/11, and they made the worst legislation ever because they did the TSA and the Patriot Act, and that was the worst, some of the worst when it came to maintaining freedoms.
I mean, the Patriot Act is scary. The Patriot Act, and nobody really talks about this part of the Patriot Act, but the Patriot Act is one of the reasons why the CIA actually has a branch now that is allowed to do actions on American soil, even though it is directly against their mandate to do so.
It's against their charter, but they can do it now, right?
Yeah.
That's why you're able to go. That's why you have to get physically screened with an X-ray machine, even though you haven't done anything. Why is it that for me to travel in the U.S. now, you have to have a gold star on your ID? If I want to fly, I have to have a gold star on my ID. You got to have a real ID.
It's a good question. I mean, this goes back to so many things that I've tried to talk about over the years that are just completely antithetical to the idea of freedom, because now you have local law enforcement that can set up checkpoints whenever they want to. You've got to have a specific type of ID to be allowed to travel anywhere anymore. I mean, that's like right now, I don't have a real ID compliant driver's license, so even if I wanted to fly, I couldn't without upgrading. And I'm one of those people. I'm not going to do it until you absolutely positively make me, because I don't like to comply. Maybe it's just me, but I don't like to comply. And when you tell me I have to do something, it makes me so much less likely to do it in the first place. But the whole thing about it is we have given up so much of our freedom in the guise of extended security, even most recently with the Patriot Act, but so far back. I mean, I've been talking about some of this stuff for months now, like with the passage of the 16th Amendment, how they basically made us the batteries that fund the very machine that we're trying to fight, which actually made us more of a socialist country than we have ever been. Then you have the left screaming that we're a democracy, the right screaming that we're technically supposed to be a republic. I got news for you, gang. When they passed the 17th Amendment, they made us more of a democracy than a republic than we've ever been. Because part of what made us a republic was there was a part of the Congress that was designated to the voice of the people, and there was a part of the Congress that was designated to the voice of the states. That's what made us a republic. When they took that away, that did start pushing us towards democracy. And what scares me about that is there are very few people that I hear connecting the dots of what happens when you go into full-on democracy, because full-on democracy is your quickest way to get into an authoritarian regime. And that is what you're watching happen on the Democratic side right now. They are becoming the very thing they've been saying we've been for the last 8 years, because they can't win. So they have Ides of March their candidate right in front of all of us and are putting somebody else up in his place. They have become the very oligarchy they say we are. And we're watching it happen. And their side won't care because they're getting all kinds of warm fuzzies from it, because we're going to stop the Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. You know, pure democracy. We already have an example of pure democracy, but nobody wants to, they don't want to learn from it. And that's the French Revolution.
This is true.
The French Revolution, the people decided, the majority decided. So let me see, Maria Antoinette lost her head. A lot of people lost their heads, including some of the people that thought they were going to be safe from it, lost their heads. There was a lot of people killed just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, gang, but I think this is going to get messy.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think this is going to be nearly as smooth and as clean as anybody wants it to be at this point, because the left's proven they don't care what they have to do to win. They showed us in 20. We didn't want to believe them. Now they're showing us again, so we have to decide if we're going to believe
they're
them or
going
not.
further. They're going so far now as to actually try and kill the man. Like, what else are they willing to do? If they're willing to go that far, there's not much else that they're not going to be able to do.
But Laura, he was a registered Republican. The Civil War is on your side, not ours.
Yeah, they don't understand. Like, I mean, his parents said that he was avidly like leftist, liberal leaning, and most people up in that area and everything will register as a Republican so they can sway those votes and everything.
Exactly.
They had a whole movement in 2022 for the midterms to get register as Republicans so they could skew the.
Yeah, they wanted Fetterman. They didn't want. They wanted Oz to run against Fetterman. They didn't want the other guy.
Yeah, because they knew Oz would lose. Because, I mean, come on, it's Oz.
Yeah.
But
We do have a pretty bad track record of picking some pretty piss poor candidates, to be honest, on the Republican side too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, our own inability to pick candidates is why we can never have nice things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much where we are. I mean, it is one of the reasons why I did not want this, what was shaping up to be a rematch between Lord Spraytan and the Cauliflower in Chief. It's not what I wanted. We had other options.
Yes.
And I would feel a lot better right now with them trying to completely shake up their ticket if we had somebody at the top of the ticket like DeSantis, but we don't, because that's not what the people wanted. And that's one of the things that I have had to just come to terms with, because I mean, the Republicans, the people that made the decision, they decided within 5 minutes who their nominee was going to be. And I don't know. And this is my tinfoil hat time, right? So I do firmly believe that on some level, they were trying to do all of this lawfare stuff to try to see if they could eventually take him out before the election. But I think there was another layer to it too, because every time they came after him with something, his base was more and more driven to vote for him. So it was a twofold thing. We're going to make them want to vote for him, and then we're going to be able to take him out at the knees, because eventually he's not even going to be able to run because he's going to be in jail. So the problem is the first part of the plan worked. The second part didn't. So then they went on to plan B, which happened last weekend, and that didn't work. So now they're on to plan C, which is nobody on our side really cares that we're an oligarchy. Let's just get rid of the old bastard and start over.
I thought plan C was like they did in Mars Attacks. You remember the old lady? They blew up Congress.
Oh.
Well, they still
put it past them.
He still got his sentencing for his jail time coming up. They pushed it for after their convention, so he still could wind up in jail.
Yeah, I don't think so at this point. There have been way too many things that the paradigm has shifted on. Because you got to realize the very thing they just came after him for was a check he signed while he was president. That brings up the whole immunity thing again. And before anybody starts yelling at me about, well, they said it was only official acts. As soon as they told him that he couldn't block or mute anyone on his own personal X account, not the POTUS account, they took him to court to make the judge tell him that his personal account was an official communication tool of the president of the United States, and therefore he couldn't block or mute anyone from that account. That made pretty much everything that man did public action. So that's why they've delayed
that
it.
precedent. I got some news for Piper from Missouri that blocked me.
But that's part of the reason why they keep delaying all these things, because there's so much aftermath from that ruling, because the Democrats were so hot and heavy to get him that they blurred their own lines by precedent, because now you don't know where the public life starts for a president and the private life starts for a president, because if he can't even block anyone on his own personal account, then what else can be considered more private than that? This is the real reason they're having to take all this stuff apart now, because the Supreme Court basically hamstrung everything they're trying to do because of other legal precedents that are now there. And that's why they keep pushing this stuff back. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I firmly believe that it's all going to probably wind up quietly going away.
I think it'll be. I think he'll still push for the jail time and sentencing. Now it may get blocked, but they're still going to make the show of it. Then they can say the Supreme Court is once again cheating and breaking the law.
Pack the court. And...
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to be honest right now. These opinions are mine and not necessarily the opinions of the organization that I represent and that I own, but they are just mine, just so everybody knows. If we win in the way that I think we're going to win, we need to do everything they've been threatening us with.
I agree.
And just do it. We need to pack the courts, but it has to happen, because these people have lost their damn minds.
Yep. If we get enough power across the board to do it, I'm with you. We're going to get. They've been threatening about it and all this, and if we don't do it, they're going to turn around and do it.
Yeah, if we don't do it, it's going to happen, and when it happens, it'll happen in their favor, and then it'll take us forever to be able to undo it.
So what do we have? 9 judges. Let's go ahead and make it 13 and everything, and we'll hand select ours if we get in again.
And they all need to be young.
Yeah, so they last forever. And then start pushing legislation that after that you cannot do it ever again. And
yeah, once we
have
pack
the Supreme Court rule it, and then they got to overturn all that.
Yeah, once we pack it to 13, then we can put into law that it can't be done anymore.
Yeah.
I think we ought to pack it with 874 million people.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a pain in the ass, bro.
Okay, who's writing the decision on this one? Not me. Nope. We'll never get anything done then.
I say I'd do it. I piss off enough people as it is, so why not a few more?
I mean, it's kind of my whole thing, so I get it. Oh. All right. So believe it or not, we've already burned through an hour. I don't know about y'all, but I got to get a drink. So I say we take a break.
All right.
All right. So I think we're going to take a break. I'm just going to run with this bumper that I already have loaded onto the board, because it's just kind of an all hands on deck. Nobody knew what the hell we were doing tonight, because news was breaking everywhere anyway. So we are going to take a break. You're listening to news coverage on KLRNRadio, powered by Digital Beacon. And I'm Rick. He's Andrew. That's Laura and Daniel, and they do talk murder to me. They'll be back with us Saturday night doing that again too. So,
8 to 10.
Yeah, 8 to 10 Central, 9 to 11 for you folks in the wrong time zone. All right, so we'll be right back. We're still talking the aftermath of Dems in disarray. I'm Rick Robinson. Stay tuned.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra buck, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
I am Conor McGregor, multiple weight MMA champion. I'm a fighter and I've been through many battles in the octagon. Many consider my fights in the octagon heroic, but the real life heroes are those men and women who fight to protect us every day. The real life fighters, the real life heroes are the firefighters and police officers. These first responders are true heroes because these brave men and women put themselves in the line of danger every single day protecting us all. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation ensures that first responders from fire, EMS and police departments who are killed in the line of duty with young children have a home without the burden of a mortgage. They are my heroes. They need our help today. I'd like to ask you to join me in donating $11 a month to support their efforts. Your $11 a month honors and supports our first responders. Please call now at 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis.
And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors. We're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I am a real American, Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside, you gotta take a stand. It don't hurt to hide. If you hurt my friends, then you hurt my pride. I gotta be a man, I can't let it slide. I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
All right, so we spent about an hour so far talking about the shit show on the left. Let's change gears for a little bit, shall we? Because I don't know. Most of the news is being made over there, but I don't know about you guys, but I don't really want to give them much more oxygen. So I think it's time that we change gears a little bit. All right, when I was getting up and grabbing my drink, apparently I bumped my mic stand, so now it's being cranky with me. One moment, please. All right, I think I got it figured out.
You're going to give them a lot of oxygen this week, and you know it.
Well, yeah, but not tonight. Tonight, I'm still coming off the high from the RNC, bro. I don't remember a convention like that ever. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been more politically motivated for about the last 18 years than I ever was, and for the last 16 years, I've been doing things like this through, even though it started on like Facebook and stuff like that. And I remember like the McCain convention and the Romney convention. Is anybody still there? Did everybody fall asleep? Yeah, that's pretty much what happened with those. And then for the first time ever in 16, we actually had a team on the ground at the RNC in 16. Nobody knows the hoops you have to jump through to be able to do that till you try to do it. So the fact that we, as an up and coming, like barely anybody knew who we were yet, radio group, actually managed to send people there was astounding to me. But even they were like, dude, this is like the biggest party we've ever seen. And then I don't know what happened in 20 because nobody was there. But I don't think it was as big of a party.
Nobody went there, right? Everything was virtual because of COVID.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it was all virtual and weird, and I think that may have been something else that just kind of killed the momentum because nothing was the same. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but Stacy and I started a show that as a joke that we actually called the Kung Flu Spew. It was a morning show, and it was because I was working a job that I was told I would never be able to work from home until the government said, hey, you've got to go home. But then it was only supposed to be for 2 weeks. And I live in the middle of nowhere. So I was having to drive an hour each way to go to work. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to get used to being able to roll out of bed at 8 o'clock, make some coffee and log in by 8:30 and do my job. So I was like, hey, Stacy, you want to do a morning show for a couple of weeks so my schedule can stay the same? And then we did that show off and on for like 2 years before we rebranded, made it a more serious show. And then eventually it kind of died when I started going through a divorce. But anyway, so we were doing that one for a long time, but it started as a joke. But that's just it. During that time frame, nobody knew what was happening. I remember getting up in the mornings and getting ready to pull material for a show. And I swear to God, there was a live report I think it was out of Shanghai or something, where they were saying that people that they thought had died from COVID were coming back to life. And I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a Walking Dead fan. I've seen how this starts. And that was one of the first things that I thought is like, oh my God, we're seriously about to have zombies? What the hell? And then it turns out that it was just a fake report. But so much of that was happening everywhere because you had China trying to amp up the fear. Because even if they didn't mean to do it, once they allowed it to happen, they started using it to their advantage. They restricted anybody from within the Wuhan province to travel anywhere else within mainland China, but they were allowed to get on a plane and go anywhere they wanted to go. China then started taking steps to buy up all the PPE they could find so that they could then sell it back to other countries that were in desperate need of it. It was like the first countrywide version of Munchausen by proxy I think I'd ever seen, where they were like, well, we know we're the ones that technically made you sick, but we're going to do everything we can to try to make you feel better about it. So we hope you like it. And it's just some of the weirdest stuff that I had ever seen. And I think that was part of what wore everybody down, was between the COVID mess and all the disinformation that was happening with COVID and them locking so many things that could have made things easier, than basically saying that's disinformation, and Trump still trying to push it. So then the media started saying that he was pushing disinformation. And we talked about this a little bit earlier with the mean tweets and everything else. Everybody was just pretty much burned out. And Joe Biden was kind of an unknown quantity that seemed like a really nice guy. And that's why it's not working now. But this is transcended so much further, because if you've watched any of the RNC, they never mentioned either of them at the top of the ticket. I think Trump said Biden's name like twice in his entire speech. I never really heard anybody talking about either Harris or Biden, because they were talking about their dreadful policies over and over and over again. And this is something that I think our party, well, I say our party, but I'm not even a registered Republican, but I think the GOP lost along the way, because at some point we stopped telling everybody why we were running, and instead telling them what we were running against, not what we were running for. And this convention, for the first time in forever, changed all of that, because it wasn't, hey, their policies are bad. It was, you've seen what this policy does. This is my policy plan to do something different, to move us in a different direction. And these are the people that I'm going to bring on the stage to help you see that I am really trying to do something different. I mean, we had people on the GOP stage that would have been laughed off of it just 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think a few years ago Vivek would have even gotten the traction that he got this year.
No, not for the old white racist party, which is what everybody keeps trying to say that we were. But I mean, and that's just it. We never really were. I'm not saying there weren't some stuffy old white Republicans in the party, and I even had this conversation with another host, John Katz, who did a show with me the other day, who was like, no, there were white racist country club Republicans in the party before. And I'm like, no, you're kind of missing the point. The country club Republicans hated everybody that wasn't country club Republicans.
Yeah.
It's not about skin color. It's about bottom line.
Well, that was Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, Carnegie. You talked about Carnegie. He's one of those. All right. I mean, you talked about that. I think it was Friday afternoon.
Yep.
And all of those guys. I mean, down there at Jekyll Island in Georgia is basically that getaway for all those mega rich guys. Vanderbilt, Carnegie, all of them. They didn't want the dirty masses around them.
And that's just it. And this is one of the points that I've been trying to make for a long time. There has been a misnomer that there was a party switch shortly after the Civil Rights Act was passed and signed by LBJ. I submit that there has been a party switch, because now it's the Democrats who don't really want the rank and file or the dirty masses around them. And you could see it because of the whole Martha's Vineyard thing. Because as soon as they had a bunch of migrants, bust in, all of a sudden they're like doing the photo op thing of, oh, we're going to feed them and everybody's welcome. And then as soon as the cameras were gone, get these fuckers out of here. Put them on a bus right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was the biggest celebrations when they were shipping them out.
I think
It was even bigger than when they were
we don't
leaving them
have
in.
the infrastructure to care for these people, and everybody at the border is like, and we do.
And we do?
Like, this is what we've been telling y'all this entire time, and you didn't want to listen and called us racist and xenophobic for it. So, like,
I mean,
okay, if y'all are better at this, then y'all deal with it. Said you're a
Well,
sanctuary, so be a sanctuary.
It's already
Yeah,
started. But if you don't vote for Heels Up, you're a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were
There's
doing that
tweet-
with Obama too. So
Well, there's
Get in
tweets
line,
starting
get in
already.
it's
line.
now.
not shocking.
Get in line, you white women. We don't care if you like our skin color or not. We're voting to save democracy.
Yeah, I saw that.
See, okay, no, I hate that. Like, as a woman, I'm like, okay, first off, like, I'm not voting based on the fact that you're a woman. Like, that's just patronizing. It's condescending. Like, give me a woman that's qualified, and I'm more than happy to vote for her. But Kamala's just not it. And then I always like to make the joke that my mama gets mad at me about. Said that I voted with my vagina once, and they told me not to come back and that I could keep the pen. Mama gets mad at me for that one, so I'm glad I didn't put this on my Facebook.
You know, you mentioned earlier about the rich Republicans and keeping their, making sure their country club gate is closed for all us dirty masses.
Yep.
I think that's part, and like I agree with you, the left is there blatantly about it now. But I think that's part of the big problem we got, the never Trump or old school Republicans too, is a little bit of that as well. Because when Trump announced and come down that golden escalator and all, I think they remembered the Democrat Trump that they all knew, and they thought, oh, good, here comes one of us. And then when Trump started coming out, being kind of outspoken for the working man and the blue collar guys and people like us to be more on our team and wanted us included, I think that's what really pissed off a bunch of the tried and true old school Republicans that's still hanging around like a cancer in the GOP. I think that's one of the reasons I really pissed them off and turned them against Trump right there.
Well, and
That's
I mean,
the fact that he told most of them to pack sand.
Yeah, exactly. They thought he was going to come in, another one of us, and all of a sudden here's Trump, and he's not. He's not one of them, even though on paper he should be. But here
on paper he definitely should be. But
yeah.
I mean, he's never. Nothing he's touched has been run like anything that they run. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's just so much material there that if you actually go back and look, I mean. It's like I talked about this. I think it was either Thursday or Friday. There was somebody that put out an interview last week that was talking about how for everybody who ever thinks Trump is a racist, I'm about to tell you a story that you haven't heard before. And I know because I was one of the people that was involved in it. And he said this was late 90s when it was like this big deal to start getting black businesses off the ground. And he's like, and none of them could get funding. So everyone kept saying, go see Donald Trump, go see Donald Trump. And he would. He funded a lot of black businesses. And then basically he set up arrangements with them. And then he said, this is how much I'm giving you. This is how much you have to pay me back. Just don't even worry about it until you can just bring me the whole amount. Mm-hmm. And then they would come back to him with the check in hand, and he would look at it and say, okay, so is this what we decided that you owed me? And they're like, yes, sir. And he would just rip it up right in front of them. It's your business. Go run it. And he did that over and over and over again. This man was talking about 8 separate stories that he knew of black-owned businesses that were started because of Donald Trump, who gave them the money and never even asked for it back.
Well, I think
if I had that kind of money, that would be the stuff that I would want to do with it.
Well, I think if you think back, okay, what do we know about Trump? What did we know about Trump in 2016? Right?
What did I know about Trump in 2016?
Apparently, we knew a lot more stuff than the left did.
Well, no, what I'm saying is and I realize y'all are younger than I am, that
I mean, their entire solar system is younger than you, so that's kind of not really the point.
Well, I was going to say the RNC kind of reminded me of the Forefathers Party where we drank a whole mess of booze too.
I mean, everybody knows you still have an outstanding tab from the party after they signed the Declaration. We know.
Shh. Don't let them know about that. I'm trying to avoid that one. But when Trump come down that stairs, right, and then for the next 4 years, we saw a persona. We saw his showman persona. And it's the same persona that he displayed in the 80s when he was on the wrestling group with WWF or WWE or whatever, right? I mean, everything that Trump did was all about the persona. It was all about being in camera, on something. If you go back and you look at the primaries, anytime something happened to where Trump's name was not the headline and went below the fold, he did something, he say something, he tweets something, and then he's back above the fold. Everybody's talking about Trump. Everybody wanted him on the news. I mean, he got all that free publicity because they wanted him on there because they knew he was going to say something that was just going to, that they were going to be able to break first, saying Trump said this. Trump said that women should be wearing red hats and white capes from there. I mean, it was everything.
See, my robe and hat never came in though.
Well, you know,
I'm still waiting on mine. Like, I think my husband's slacking a little bit.
well, maybe he just feels you don't need it yet.
I don't know. I mean, my chain is pretty long. I can go from the bedroom to the kitchen to the laundry room and back.
Well, there you go.
I mean, how much more do you need?
Really?
Exactly. I don't like leaving the house as it is, so I'm fine.
There you go. But if you think about it, right? And I know Daniel's up there about same age as Rick, and Trump was just bombastic, right? And he lost, I don't know how many businesses. I don't know how many times he was bankrupt in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I didn't trust him when he came down the stairs. I didn't vote for him. And I had that whole argument. I mean, it was just like, I still don't agree with it. You know, if you don't vote for Trump, you're voting for a Democrat. No, I'm not. If I don't vote for Trump, I'm not voting. Right. Plain and simple. I mean, my vote goes where I want my vote to go. It doesn't matter. It's not a binary set solution here.
Yeah.
Right. If I don't push the button here, that doesn't mean this button over on the other side gets pushed.
Exactly.
So,
it's not like there's a finite number of votes, and if you don't use yours, and somebody else on the other team is going to use it. That's not how it works.
It doesn't work that way. But I remember that argument. I had told people back in 2016. I told a lot of my friends that were voting for Trump. I told my brothers and sister-in-law. They're like, "You got to vote for Trump." No, I don't. Well, he's better than Hillary. And I said, okay, so I got to choose between dying from slow, agonizing poisoning or slow poisoning, dying, agonizing. I mean, what's the difference? Evil's evil, and I'm not going to vote for it. That's like with Tamzilla on Twitter. She's not voting for Trump. You're not going to convince her to vote for Trump.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things that he's done that she needs answered, and it's not happening. This convention.
I actually respect people like her a lot more because they actually have valid reasons and valid concerns for their choices here.
And I mean, I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, the left, all they've got is, well, he's literally Hitler. He's a fascist. The Handmaid's Tale is going to happen under him because they're going to start enslaving women. Like,
well, they got to explain. They got to define a woman first. So that's a dead argument.
But say first, you got to tell me what a woman is, because otherwise, I don't care if you got a penis or not. I'm putting you in a red robe.
Well, but I think what happened is they had the assassination attempt on Saturday, and it was it divine help. I'm not going to even go to that point because I have my own thoughts on that, and we're not talking about that. But I think he had a wake-up call. I think somebody woke him up. This woke him up to realize that his bombastic persona is not helping.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
I think the rules for the way he done on this debate last time, with those rules in place, I think the feedback he got off that was so positive that I think that plays a part in it too. He's like, that did work out in my favor. So I think that plays a part in it too.
I do, but I think with the attempt that it kind of woke him up and made him realize, one, you're mortal.
Yeah,
right?
you're fallible, dude. You can die too. So
you are just a man.
Like, all the money in the world can't save you from a bullet. So,
and he came to realize that these people don't know me. We know his showman. We know his show personality. right? It's like Kiss. I remember when Kiss was all big and had all the makeup and everything, right? So, and then they put out an album, they didn't have makeup on. And everybody's like, who are these four ugly dudes?
What's his face? Gene
Simmons.
Yeah, not Gene
Gene-
Simmons.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. And
Well, I mean, it's like with me, right? Rick Robinson was a name that I created because this all kind of started as a joke on Facebook. I started my political commentary career as a cartoon penguin with a Gadsden flag shirt called Wobbles the Pissed Off Penguin. Wobbles is a nickname for a reason because I've earned it because I have a limp. But so then when I started trying to take things in a more serious direction, by then I was working for Southwest Airlines, and they were like, if we find out you're making political statements of any kind on social media, whether they're for or against, you're likely to be fired. So, and at that time I was kind of over the whole cartoon character thing. So I was like, well, I can't do it under my own name. So if for a while it was Double R, and then it became Rowdy Rick, and then it eventually became Rowdy Rick Robinson. And for everybody who knows the iteration of the name and where it came from, there's actual meaning behind it, but it's not my real name. So then once I went to work for OU, they still had the same policies, but then I started being called in to work morning shows and was this close to getting my own morning show. And then so everybody on the floor knew that I did talk radio, because there was one morning that I came in because I took 4 hours of PTO so I could do the show and then come in and finish the rest of my shift. And then I got called into my boss's office as soon as I got there. And he started showing me pictures of everybody camped out in the parking lot finishing listening to the show before they would come in and go to work. He's like, you can't put out emails like that anymore. So at that point, I started thinking, everybody knows what I do now. I could probably start doing it under my real name. So I started talking to brand consultants and everything else. And they're like, look, your brand isn't just KLRN They're like, if you start doing stuff under your real name, you're going to have to start over because nobody's going to know who the hell you are. I'm like, So it's just kind of become a thing, but it's kind of like, with Andrew going back to persona, there's not a lot of difference between Rick Robinson and the real me, but there is some. And I think there was more when I first started. As an example, when I went to my first CPAC, it was with JD, Stacy, Lou was there, Hammy from Altcon Radio was there, and there were a few other people. We went out to a bar after we were done one night, and I'm just drinking it all in because the only other time I'd ever done this was a year prior when we went to SRLC 15 in Oklahoma City, and it wasn't nearly as big. So I'm just sitting there just drinking it all in. And all of a sudden, JD looks at me, and this is basically an exact quote. And if you ask him, he'll tell you, motherfucker, do you even talk when there's not a microphone in front of your mouth? I'm like, oh, no, not really. I just went back to shutting up again. It's just one of those things. But yeah, so I completely understand Trump feeling like he had to stay on brand and in character all the time, because that's the worst thing about that is if you go back and you look at Trump in the early years, we taught him he had to be that way because that's how he got noticed. We taught him that was who he needed to be, because if you go back and look at if you go back and you look at some of his earliest interviews, anytime they weren't speaking to him, he was staring down at his feet. He wouldn't say a word until they spoke to him. He wouldn't even look at the camera until they spoke to him. That was a kid who didn't know really who he was yet or what he wanted to do yet. He just was starting to be thrust into the spotlight because of his name and because he had plans. But on camera, he didn't know what to do or who to be. And then once he started coming out of his shell, the more bombastic he was, the more everybody noticed him. So we taught him that was who he needed to be when he was on camera. And I've heard this from people that know him. One of the guys that almost helped me get on with KOKC, his wife was the chair of his campaign in 2016. And he's like, you've never seen Trump off camera. I have. That's only half of who he is. I will tell you, based on what I've been told by now, him and a couple of other people who do have personal experience with him, who we saw at the RNC, was the closest to the real Donald Trump that we're probably ever going to see. Because it was a blend of who we taught him to be and who he actually is.
which was very pleasant to have and see.
Yeah.
I like the more serious side of him. I mean, like I said, he's so used to being the celebrity, the apprentice guy or whatever that show was. And
Well, that's just it. He can't run on being an outsider now,
yeah,
right? He's a politician,
Yep.
and he can't. The showman thing doesn't work. It didn't work in 2020. He saw that in 2020. Even
yeah,
with everything else that went on,
from that. I hope
it
he learned
didn't.
from that anyway.
It didn't work, and he was trying to do it, and that's where a lot of what he was saying and doing, I don't think was there, but he had the followers, especially you saw it on Twitter with the people. Well, we don't need your help then. You DeSantis turds need to get on the Trump train. It's like, really, this is unity you're bringing about here. I don't understand. So, and it's not. I blame him, but I don't blame him because all they're doing is just projecting the same thing that he'd done. And that bombastic, that rude, that crassness, just being over the top.
Yeah.
He didn't. He changed, and I think when as Rick says, when the debate happened, and it tied him down, and I thought the debate, him in the debate was great, right? And I thought that was great. He didn't have to do anything. I still like the best line was, I don't know what he said.
Yeah,
Okay?
he was just so deadpan about it too. Like he was serious. Like I just don't know what he was saying here. Like,
I don't know what he said.
I don't know what he said, and I don't think he knows what he said either.
Yeah.
Right.
That was actually my number 2 for the debate. My number 1, and it was kind of the sleeper that nobody really noticed until it made it into a campaign ad, was when he was sitting there and he got completely lost and he was just like, and we finally beat Medicare. And that's when they cut his mic and panned over to Trump, and they're like, well, Mr. Trump, what do you think? Well, I think he's right about one thing. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Yeah. Yeah, the look on Trump's face when he said that, he just, the way he looked at Biden after Biden said that, it was just like, really? You're going to give me that ammunition to use against you right now?
I mean, dude, you talk about a softball right over the plate. But Jeff has a valid question. I was actually going to bring that up before we change tacks for a second. So, and this is Jeff, serious from the chat. Serious question. Are we even sure Biden is alive, conscious, not fully mentally gone? I hope he's okay, but no video. Staff called it in, not him. That just, I have to admit, that was one of the first things I thought too. So it's two things. It's two possibilities. One, he's either so far gone at this point that they don't think he could have pulled off any type of a press conference or even an Oval Office address. Or two, this was just the final stab in the back where basically they forced him to send a Dear John letter out to the American people.
He's going to wake up.
Combination of everything. Like I said, I mean, I truly, everything that I've been seeing, and it infuriates me. I may not like Biden or what he stands for or anything, but I think what's being done to him is horrific because, like, I watched, how debilitating and just how awful Alzheimer's is and dementia, stuff, all those kinds of cognitive issues. And, like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So them propping him up like this, I mean, to me, that's straight up elder abuse.
I think, seriously, though, why we haven't heard anything other than what was those written comments, hadn't actually seen or heard from him in person, is I figured today they would have to set him down and explain to him that he's stepping down and this is what's happening. And when you've got somebody with Alzheimer's and dementia that far into it, when you try to explain something to them that they don't understand or something that they don't want to hear, it causes confusion and actually it turns into anger and rage. Mm-hmm. And once that snowball starts happening, it's hard for them to come back down and get any kind of semblance of being normal and being on the level. And I have a feeling that he was so fired up today that the rest of this day and maybe even in tomorrow, he's just going to be so upset that he won't be able to make any
I don't
kind
think I think they're going to do their best to keep him from speaking to the cameras.
Oh, I think he'll have to at some point soon. They'll just have him so coked up that he'll do pretty good.
The problem is as you said, with the Alzheimer's and dementia patients, this is something he is going to hold on to. Or he'll forget about it, and then he'll get asked about it, right?
Right.
By some reporter, or some reporter will ask him that, and then it starts all over again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling when he makes his public appearance, he's going to be all B12'd up and cocained up so that he can read the teleprompter. It'll be short and sweet. There'll be no questions asked. Jill or whoever will be there to lead him off stage and just get him out of there quick, just in and out. And the press in the room will be on high orders to act accordingly.
Jeff, it's the same people that have been running the country the entire time. It's Jill, Hillary, and Obama.
I'm sorry. It's me.
In that case, get the hell off. Get the hell off my show, sir. Go back to work. You're running shit on the ground.
I'm just sending everything to voicemail.
All a little today.
It's actually safer than what's actually happened.
Probably. All right. So since we did also mention that we were going to be doing a little bit of an RNC recap before the world went to hell yet again on a weekend. What the hell? I remember when weekends were boring. I have to show one of my highlights, and I'm pretty sure it was one of Daniel's too. So let me get this queued up here.
Oh, yeah, brother. Look at that man right there.
There are just some people that don't age, and I envy that, man.
Oh, he's aged. Trust me.
You know something? When I came
He looks
here
better
tonight,
at 70-something than I do at
energy
51.
in this room. I felt maybe I was in Madison Square
That's
Garden
because he can afford
getting ready for
Botox.
another world title. Or maybe I thought
Yeah, when your job is to be in the gym 4 hours a day,
so intense, the energy was so crazy, it felt like maybe I was going to press that no-good, stinky giant over my head and slam him through the mat, brother.
He should be our vice president of that.
But what I found out was I was in a room full of real Americans, brother. And at the end of the day, with our leader up there, my hero, that gladiator, we're going to bring America back together. One real American at a time, brother. You know something? I've seen some great tag teams in my time. Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage. But you know something? I see the greatest tag team of my life standing upon us, getting ready to straighten this country out for all the real Americans.
I got to write up that story.
You know, even though you guys are real Americans, you better get ready. Because when Donald J. Trump becomes the President of the United States, all the real Americans are going to be nicknamed Trumpites. Because all the Trumpites are going to be running wild for 4 years. So with the power of Donald J. Trump and all the Trumpites running wild, America is going to get back on track. And like Donald J. Trump said, America is going to be great again. You know, when I look out and I see all the real Americans, I think about how Donald Trump, his family was compromised. When I look out there and I see Donald Trump, I think about how his business was compromised. But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero?
I'm getting all pumped again.
They tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America.
I'm sorry, I have to do this because I wish they would have done it then. This should have been playing all through that last segment.
Yeah.
Actually, I would have liked to hear had a "Who's ready to roll?"
He's a good man.
You know something, Trumpites? I didn't come here as Hulk Hogan, but I just had to give you a little taste.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my name is Terry Bollea. And as an entertainer, I love you too. And as an entertainer, I tried to stay out of politics. But after everything that's happened to our country over the past 4 years, and everything that happened last weekend, I can no longer stay silent.
That right there is a real statement from him right there. You can tell he really means it. He's not in character anymore.
I'm here tonight
truth.
because I want the world to know that Donald Trump is a real American hero. And I'm proud to support my hero as the next president of this United States. You know, guys, I've known Donald Trump for over 35 years. You know, hold on a second, hold on. I just
Almost
had a
40-something years now.
I just had a flashback, man. This is really tripping. You know, the last time I was up on stage, Donald Trump was sitting at ringside at the Trump Plaza. I was bleeding like a pig, and I won the world title right in front of Donald J. Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And you know something? He's going to win in November, and we're all going to be champions again when he wins. And like I said, I've known that man for over 35 years, and he's always been the biggest patriot, and he still is. He's always told you exactly what he thought, and he still does, brother. And no matter the odds, he always finds a way to win. And when he's back in our White House, America is going to start winning again.
Yeah, look at this time that our party seems to actually have a plan in place instead of just, hey, vote for us because we're not the other guy.
Yeah.
You know, guys, over my career, I've been in the ring with some of the biggest, some of the baddest dudes on the planet. And I've squared off against warriors, ooh yeah, savages. And I've even, like I said, body slam giants in the middle of the ring. And I know tough guys. But let me tell you something, brother. Donald Trump is the toughest of them all. They've thrown everything at Donald Trump. All the investigations, the impeachments, the court cases, and he's still standing and kicking their butts. You know, we never had it better than the Trump years. Back then, we had a thriving economy. We had strong borders. We had safe streets. We had peace and respect around the world. But then we lost it all in a blink of an eye. Crime is out of control. The border is out of control. The price of food and gas and housing is out of control. And the only person who can clean this up is Donald Trump. You know, guys, I really, really love this country. And I've lived the American dream. And I want my kids, your kids, and all those little teeny Hulkamaniacs out there to live the American dream too. This November, guys, we can save the American dream for everyone. And Donald Trump is the president who will get the job done. So all you criminals, all you lowlifes, all you scumbags, all you drug dealers, and all you crooked politicians need to answer one question, brother. What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother?
Love it.
God bless you.
I love it.
And thank you.
Trumpomaniac.
Those folks that get happy, they'll like when
I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
Sorry, had to be done. All right, so that was probably one of my highlights for the entire night right there. I don't know. It's like I was telling Daniel in when we were doing the recap that night. I was a wrestling fan, but I was a very select wrestling fan when I was a kid. If Piper wasn't wrestling, if Hogan wasn't wrestling, or if Macho Man wasn't wrestling, I didn't want to watch it. I didn't care. And I would go find other stuff to do. But if they were on, I was glued to the TV, man. I remember Saturday morning cartoons when Hogan and Piper both had cartoons.
Yep. Yep. I remember that too. That was the golden age of wrestling for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was for everybody.
Yeah, but I'm the same way. Piper was my number one guy, then Hogan was number two for me.
Yeah, it was always the other way for me. I was Hogan and then Piper. Now I did come to respect Piper much later. As far as realizing what a talent he had and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then Andre the Giant was another one that I came to respect a lot later. Once because when I first started watching these guys, I was still young enough that it didn't equate with me that it was fake yet.
Yeah.
It took forever for my parents to explain to me. They're like, no, these guys really aren't the bad guys they're playing on the thing. It's all an act. And I'm like, no, it's not. Andre the Giant's a butthole.
What do you mean by act? What are you talking
about? When he first started.
I'm sorry, what, Andrew?
Andre played the villain when he first started back mid 70s.
Yeah. And then at one point, the actual wrestling term is he played a heel. And then at one point, eventually he was allowed to become a face. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's just for some reason those were my top three. I think Sergeant Slaughter at one point kind of started working his way in there a little bit just because of how completely just over the top his routine was. But yeah, I mean, it was just, I don't know. But
we're gonna have to do a whole show one night on wrestling.
We could probably do that.
Oh yeah,
wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Go for like 4 hours for a conversation like that.
Oh, for sure.
I can only talk 70s.
Well, that's because that's when you stopped watching TV.
Pretty much. See, I knew Dusty Rhodes.
Wait, you actually knew him?
I met him.
Nice.
Almost got hired on to his business. He was an electrician.
That's pretty cool.
Down there in Tampa.
Back in the day like that, a lot of those guys did have day jobs and stuff, and they done the wrestling as they could.
Yep.
Until
Dusty Rhodes, the Briscoe brothers.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get so I can say hey to everybody without interrupting?
Hold on. I know down here I knew the Armstrongs, Bullet Bob Armstrong and them. They never made it to WWF level and all. And the closest one I met, he was in the 70s. He was probably in the 90s, I guess. was Bob Holly. He was from Mobile, and I met him a couple of times and actually talked to him more than once. But he was in the 90s and 2000s. But I did get to see like Hulk Hogan in person a few times and some of those guys, in the ring as I was growing up. So that was always
Now,
cool.
see, y'all got all the classics. Me and my brother were really big into wrestling there for a while, but that was like, the Vince McMahon era. And like you were talking about the other night, him and Donald Trump having like the battle of the billionaires and stuff like that. But
Ted
like
DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase, yeah.
Edge was the one that I had the big crush on. Then there was like the Chris Jericho's, Triple H.
Yeah, you was in the late 90s, 2000s,
Yeah.
all that. So.
Well, I mean, she kind of had to be. She was really little for the rest of it.
Well, she is what? Zelda's older sister by a year?
I'm 37. I've got about 9 years on her.
Well, we don't mention women's age. That's why we let you do it.
Oh no, I'm very, very open about it because I like to mess with Daniel and call him a dirty old man.
Well, not really.
I don't know. I mean, when I was in first grade, he was already driving, so.
I'm not going to because
I got married the first time.
Yeah, we did the math. The first time, because this is both of our second marriages. But when he got married for the first time and everything to his high school sweetheart, I was only 10 years old.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like I might not be old enough for this conversation.
But yeah, I mean, if we're not careful, we're going to get on this wrestling rabbit hole, and I'm going to be on it for the rest of the night. So
y'all are going to set him off.
Laura, you want to know what I was doing when you were born?
Dude, I forgot about him.
Yeah, I can name that dude. I can name them all. I'm telling you.
I want to tell you, I get a lot of respect for Roddy
Yeah.
When his movie played on the ship, Hell Goes to Frogtown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a classic right there.
The only movie I ever remember seeing him in was They Live, and I absolutely loved that movie. And if it doesn't describe society today, I don't know a better way to do it.
They Live is a good one. But if you
that's actually been part of my America Off the Rails intro for going on like 6 years now, because I just the whole line for I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you haven't seen Hell Comes to Frogtown, you need to find it.
Yeah, I'll need to find it.
I said something about that,
it's a classic.
And taking names, things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a good one to. It's one of those things you got to experience.
And I got to experience multiple times.
Hey, multiples aren't always bad. Oh wait, never mind.
Well, we didn't get a lot of choices on what movies we had on the ship.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you did spend a lot of your time at sea, sir.
Yep, but I also spent a lot of time on shore, overseas. There's a lot of places that I've been drunk in.
It's funny how it always comes back to that with you. How many ports have you eaten tacos in? That's the question I have.
I have sailed the 7 seas.
Oh. All right. So I guess trying to get back on topic as best we can. Did anybody else have any big takeaway moments for themselves from the RNC?
I think
Besides Andrew, because I know he wasn't watching.
I'd like to when what's her name, Kai, the granddaughter, got to talk.
Yeah, the granddaughter.
I thought that was really neat. It was very scripted. You can tell that she was a little uncomfortable with it, but she did a great job, and it brought out the human side of Trump for sure. I thought it was a neat contrast between Grandpa Trump versus Grandpa Biden. You know,
about that veteran, the older man that got up
Yeah.
and said that,
Yeah,
like,
the 98-year-old man that was like, if he gets reelected, I'm re-upping.
yeah, exactly. Like my mom said that gave her like goosebumps when she heard that.
He said they wouldn't have beach. He wouldn't storm for that man. That was good.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and here where John's talking about the how do you say his name? Comparator? The comparator. Yeah, when he goes up and he walks over and hugs the jacket, you know, his fireman's uniform. That's another
Jeff
thing.
got my double meaning. Thank you, Jeff.
I don't think that was necessarily scripted. I think that was an ad lib moment, but it registered. It looked good.
Yeah, no. Well, so a couple of big takeaways from me were actually from the other side, like Whoopi Goldberg attacking Trump's grandchild for speaking and trying to humanize him and telling everybody not to buy into that BS. And then the outcry over the jacket having his name misspelled when nobody seems to realize that you're really only allowed to put so many characters on the back of a jacket like that. So they had to cut a letter off, and that was his actual jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, the family.
Well, what's funny is they can't.
Just never changed it.
They can't stay on the granddaughter because Navy Biden is certainly not part of the Biden crew.
Mm-hmm.
So Zelda from the chat, she liked Dr. Ben Carson, an actual doctor, not Jill.
See, I've always loved Ben Carson, just like as a human being in general. But he's so sensible that I knew politics would just kind of chew him up and spit him out because he's very soft-spoken, he's very sensible, and you kind of have to be a shark in politics.
Well, he's doing good where he's at,
Yeah.
but he's just not an upfront guy. Not to be. The
Hey, I think he would make an excellent vice president.
He needs to be Surgeon General, I think.
Ooh, that'd be good too.
Yeah, much better than the guy we have now.
Yeah.
We need to put a warning label on social media. Really? Really? Yeah,
I mean, a warning label for what? Like,
because
too much
the
mental
time
health
on social
issues?
media rots your brain. But I mean, it's not even that. It's not even necessarily that I disagree. It's that the left excoriated DeSantis for basically saying the same thing, that we needed to start putting age restrictions in place for social media. And when he did that, that's un-American. That's being a dictator. And then just a few short weeks later, the Surgeon General of the United States says we should have age restrictions on social media and we need to put a warning label on it.
Well, it's actually proven now. And I mean, that's even something we could talk about psychologically on the nature nurture thing too, is about especially how young kids are getting into social media nowadays. The risks of like anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, all of that skyrockets the younger they get on it.
Well, I mean, they're starting to do studies now, and I think they're finally starting to understand why. And this kind of goes back to when we were kids, because at least for me anyway, I was kind of on the cusp of the time when you went from only really well-off people had TVs, or especially more than one TV, to then it became only well-off people had color TV, and then eventually it started becoming like, it almost became like a political talking point without becoming one. There'll be a color TV in every house, kind of like the pot for every American, that kind of thing. But and that kind of became our babysitter in a lot of ways, especially for those of us that grew up in the 70s and the 80s when we were in the midst of moms were done being just homemakers and they were going to go blaze a path for themselves and they weren't home. I mean, hell, I raised my brother from the time I was 8 years old until I moved out of my house because my mom was almost never home. My brother's still mad at me to this day because I didn't take him with me. He doesn't know that I couldn't, because she said the second I tried to leave with him, she'd call him as a runaway. And I didn't tell him that part because I didn't want to damage their relationship any further than it already has been. But we've had a rift ever since. But it was like, even when your parents were home, it was, you were either outside or you were put in front of a television and told just to stay out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become the same thing with smartphones. It's they give them smartphones at 2, 3, and 4 years old because they can watch their favorite shows and they can do this and they can do that, and it keeps them entertained and
Yeah.
keeps them out of the way. But there's been these studies that are now starting to be done about the blue light that these type of devices put off and what it can actually do to developing brains. And it's terrifying.
Yeah, this kind of stuff is actually more damaging than we ever had any concept of, when all of this first really started coming out. But yeah, the screens are now digital babysitters, and your kid starts acting up or whatever, hand them a phone, hand them a tablet just to shut them up. And
well, and this is again going from, and this may be again a good topic to bring up during the nature to nurture conversation that you guys are going to be having on Saturday. But have you noticed now, because it has become such a thing for the last generation that pretty much, at a certain age, every kid gets a screen and just gets shoved in front of it, that it's like by age 2, they all know how to run them?
Yeah.
I've seen these videos and they're funny, but they're also extremely sad and alarming at the same time. Like somebody actually handed a little girl, she was probably 3 years old, handed her a magazine, but instead of flipping the pages and everything, she's trying to swipe the page up and down because that's all she knows.
Yeah.
She's never had in print paper, magazine, or book in her hands.
It started off, I think, as a convenience factor with the kids and stuff, and now it's become almost, and it become quickly an addiction for them. And now, when you do try to pull the screen away, they can have a conniption
They
fit.
freak out.
Okay,
Yeah, and then you immediately just hand it right back to shut them up. So it's a vicious cycle in a way.
Yeah, y'all can ask Daniel about this. I'm not exaggerating this, but it was back when I was working, and as a bartender, I worked nights and weekends. So I'm getting home between 3 and 4 in the morning on the weekends and everything. And one night I come home and it's got to be about 4 a.m. And this was at the time that my brother and his wife lived with me. So I was kind of taking care of their kid during the day too, my niece. And so I walk in the door at 4 in the morning and this child is up. She had to be 5 at the time, maybe.
If that.
Yeah. And she's switching out SpongeBob DVDs because she's been on the couch all night long just watching TV. So when I walked in, I was like, hey, it's extremely, extremely late. You need to turn this off and go to bed. So I turned off the TV and this child pitched the mother of all fits. And Kyle and Katie got so mad at me. And I was like, it's 4 in the morning. She needs to go to bed. And they were like, well, she's being quiet. And I'm like, so? She's not sleeping.
Getting more feedback from the chat. Not going to lie, Kid Rock intro for Trump was an amazing boomer rock moment. I didn't consider it a boomer rock moment.
No, I thought it was more of a Gen X at the oldest.
Yeah, I mean, but
yeah. Kid Rock's not boomer.
No.
But then, of course, Zelda had to chime in. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't a fan of Kid Rock Live. That's all right, Zelda. You probably not a fan of you either.
I said that.
Oh, yeah. You just did. I just saw
That was really my favorite or anything. I mean, he just didn't really appeal to me. I did like him in Joe Dirt, though. That was fun.
He played himself.
Yeah,
It was a natural.
He played a jerk.
I've never really been a huge Kid Rock fan either, but that was actually a moment I didn't necessarily mind. I mean, I think he's done 2 songs that I like. That happened to be one of them.
Yeah.
The rest of them I can pretty much take them or leave them, especially when he did the song with the Sweet Home Alabama riff. I've heard that. No, stop that. Ugh. As somebody who has friends that do cover bands and everything else, I've heard every version of that song, every riff of that song that I ever want to hear. Please just put it to bed.
One of the top 3 that we always heard in the bar, Wagon Wheel is probably number 1.
Wagon Wheel's
Sweet
number
Home
1.
Alabama.
And Freebird.
Freebird, yeah. Oh my God, everybody did those. And you should have seen these drunk women when they started playing Wagon Wheel. I swear to God.
There was some nights we've done it more than once.
Yes.
There for a while when it was so popular. I like Kid Rock, so just screw all y'all. But I understand he's definitely got a limit of what you can take, because after a while, all it starts running together. But I do agree that for as far as a live concert, his voice ain't all that great, but the energy and the theme of what he's doing is what really works.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always more about the energy anyway. I don't care how perfect a voice sounds when it's live. If there's no energy there, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Now
There are
doesn't
groups
mean
that are great live. There are groups that never should be live.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that I ever want the drunk country singer that just sang the national anthem the other day to ever sing it again.
Yeah.
But,
apparently she's gonna go check into rehab and come out and apologize and all this stuff. So I don't remember her name, but she earned it.
Was she the one that got so plastered at New Year's?
No.
Oh.
This
she
was
was
a baseball game, and she was
just a few days ago at a baseball game. She sang the national anthem like plastered off
At
her ass.
it was the home run derby or the All-Star
Home Run Derby.
game.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was All-Star or Home Run Derby.
I think it was Home Run Derby. I think.
But she started off okay, but it got so bad you could see it. See her going downhill for all of it.
I get bad secondhand embarrassment, so I don't know if I really want to look that
But
up.
yeah, she come out the next day and apologized and said she's voluntarily checking herself into rehab because once she saw the replay of it, that was her according to what she said, that was her bottom. That was the wake up call. So
hopefully she does get the help she needs.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a shame it was a shame that happened.
Yeah, it was bad.
Well, you're saying like some people just don't need to be live. Who was it? Milli Vanilli learned that the hard way.
They was never live.
I know, but they were. I was saying they performed live, but they were not actually singing.
Yeah. No, what really pisses Milli Vanilli off is realizing they were born in the wrong generation because now
exactly
they're making millions of dollars for lip syncing on TikTok and they got fired over it.
Exactly right.
I've seen that meme where they're just like looking at the camera, like all pissed off and everything. Like, really?
Yeah,
we did this first, and everybody thought we were assholes.
That was when we actually held our entertainers to a certain standard too. Like, they actually had to have talent.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, and I know that's not really the point of tonight's show, but it's a valid thing because it's kind of how everything I think has kind of gotten to where it is now everywhere. Because we used to hold everybody to standards that we don't hold anybody to anymore, and now it's like you get an album that's released and it sounds awesome, and then you go to hear them live and it's like you've been catfished.
Yeah. It's like you completely.
You're like, how much of this was auto-tune and work behind the scenes and everything else just so you could get a lot of people to buy your stuff, and then they pay for your tickets 1 or 2 times and then they don't come to your shows anymore because you actually suck live. It's just that's a symptom of the same problem because nobody holds anybody to any standards at all anymore.
Well, that was the classic example of that is Queen with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Right? They did not do that song live.
No.
Well, they didn't do all of it. They didn't do all of it live.
Vocal tracks.
Yeah.
Right? They did the first portion of it, but when they have the orchestra, the choir portion of it, they go off stage. They went off stage. Right?
Yeah.
And that would just play. They wouldn't be on stage at all. That would just play with the projector, the screen projection. And then when the guitar kicked back in, that's when they came back out because Brian would come out leading them on it. And they were asked about it, and it's like, because we can't replicate what we did.
No.
So they weren't even going to try.
And I think I actually respect for not trying it. They knew what they had and they worked around it. It worked.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion. But when you overproduce something to that level, at least they were smart enough to realize that we're not going to ruin it and cheapen the experience by trying and doing something at a lower quality. We're just going to make it part of the show and go with it.
And that was no idea what any of us are really talking about.
Yeah, she's already said she doesn't feel like she's old enough for this part. Or I feel too young for this. All right, so back to the actual topic real quick, because this just came across my feed and actually happens to be from a fellow host. This is from John Katz on X just about 45 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm expecting something like this because he didn't come out. There's been no pictures or anything. He went to, what was it, Wednesday, Thursday. He went to home and hasn't been seen since. It's up by his advisors that he had come over, and they
Wasn't it
released this
just
letter.
yesterday or?
I mean, let's not forget, unless they were faking, the dude is 81 years old with COVID. I mean, it may have been too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
That's
want to wish ill on anyone, and I hope he's okay. But
Yeah.
with the fact that he hasn't really been seen since, I'm just saying there's and then they give a Dear John letter through X to the entire country. It's not me, it's you.
That's why I had my serious doubts that I'm wondering if he had a stroke.
Well, see, that's what I'm wondering, because I was just thinking, I know Fu was talking about it in our writers chat for Twitchy, that like it was just yesterday or day before that they had put out, like one of the news outlets had come out saying, reporting that Biden was just adamant, I'm not dropping out.
I think John might have just won the chat for the night.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I don't have a problem. That I can't believe would happen because cocaine and ashes are two different textures. Now I could believe him mixing up ashes with marijuana and hashish, but not cocaine.
So I want to know how you know that ashes and cocaine are two different textures.
Dude, 70s. That's all I'm gonna say. There's a reason why I know what hookers and blows means.
Oh.
If Biden is still kicking right now, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he's as bad off as we think. That might not be part of their October surprise, garner some sympathy.
I don't think they can hold it. I don't think they're going to be able to hold it till October because he's supposed to meet with Netanyahu this week.
Oh, well, that's going to be his COVID cover. You'll have to cancel that stuff.
Yeah.
So
interesting side note, and I know it shows up different on everybody's feed, so I don't know how it looks on everybody else's, but just for giggles, because it's easier for me to grab the numbers, I changed over to the station feed. So on the Live on X, on the station's feed, we're showing is number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5.
That's good.
Well, on mine, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We're the top 4.
And then on mine, because I just changed back over, it looks like we are number 2, 3, 4. We're only number 5 on mine, but this account follows a lot of bigger folks because that's actually a part of what I started doing. Going and checking some other feeds out and that's why I've started putting up on our thing that our chats are open, because I've noticed on a lot of the bigger feeds they close them down. So I don't even think anybody even most of the time comes to look to see if they can chat anymore, because on a lot of the bigger ones that have like 4,000 or 5,000 people, you click on it and it says this chat is not available. Like, why would you do that? But anyway, it's not my chat. I don't care. Our chats are open everywhere. Come and chat, hang out. We like it. Jeff is complaining about X chat as we speak.
Well, the problem is with the X chat, right? Because it's streaming on my account, it's streaming on Laura's account, and on Daniel's account, and on your account, and on the KLRN account. They don't all they all combine into one, right? I can read the scroll of all the chats, but trying to reply to each other doesn't quite work.
Yeah, it does, because it'll still show up across all the feeds.
So,
because they're all matched together, there'll be a delay, but look, I'll show you because this will only show up where it's about to show up because I have the scroll on. Because when I type as the host, it doesn't even normally go to X, but since I have the scroll on, it'll show it. It'll show up for everybody. So you watch.
Oh no, I know it'll all show up on the main one, but it's like if you're the only person, you're replying to yourself. You don't have the whole chat other than what you're seeing there.
But that's what I'm saying though. This part right here, like I know you can't really see it, but the part that's on the screen that everybody can see, the part that I just made go away.
Yep.
That is every chat combined. The only one it won't pull from is Rumble. So whether it's somebody chatting from the Facebook page, the YouTube channel, any of the linked X accounts, it all goes right there. That's why when we do the simultaneous pairing, I make sure everybody can see that. Because that way, no matter where they are, they can see it.
Yeah, but I can't scroll down on that.
Well, that's true. You can't.
Right? I can't scroll back and see what all the conversations were on there. That's what the problem is. And Jeff, it doesn't pull back your chats because you're an alien. Not everything gets through the English translator.
Well, I'm just saying, Jeff. I've seen, as far as I know, almost all of them. At least it's supposed to. Like I said, I know that's what it's supposed to do. But,
Well, I think actually it's X that glitches every now and then on that, because some of my responses don't show up either.
I don't know.
Well, we'll just blame the cloud problem that was on Friday, right? There was a little
actually
internet problems, right?
I think that may be a bigger problem than anybody wants to admit, because I finally fixed our domain issue, but I still don't have a website. And I looked at where they point everything to, and Cloudflare's all over it. And I'm like, that could be a problem. Anyway.
Zelda,
are you guys seriously like singing this? I'm
just wondering if Zelda even knows that was a song. So yes, now I'm like quoting it as a conversation.
Was like somebody started with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and then I look over and I start singing the lyrics. I was like, oh my god. But no, I'm sure.
I said it to my wife. I said it to my girl. And now she's my wife.
Apparently Zelda says she knows about that one. So
okay, good.
She saw it on a YouTube video, that or on a Disney sing-along.
I'm going to say the YouTube video. That's how she watches most everything. Half the time when I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm watching YouTube videos.
Finland's not real in this timeline.
Well, I mean, neither is Delaware, but still.
Yeah.
I still say birds aren't real.
They're not.
Yeah.
That's why we had COVID.
They had to
change all the batteries.
They only had 100-year batteries. It was time to change them. Oh. I was looking.
Do y'all remember that time when Jake the Snake Roberts let that?
You're still on wrestling?
Yeah, he let the Cobra bite Macho Man Randy Savage on the arm. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't even do that.
Is it in your room still?
No, it was y'all got to talk about chats and stuff like that, and I kind of zoned out for a moment. That's above my pay grade.
Do not let
and he was like, I'm going to think about wrestling while they're talking about the chat.
I told you, y'all started with Hogan there. I got stuck on that rabbit hole. It's still running through my mind.
See, I can understand that. I can respect that, Daniel, because I'm the same way with bourbon and tacos.
Yeah.
Speaking of bourbon, I need another sip.
Well, we missed the hour break.
We were kind of in the middle of everything, and I kind of gave up on that one. Actually, I think we're kind of running out of steam, so I think we'll probably go on for about another 10 minutes or so and then probably call it a wrap. Because unless anybody else has any major breaking things they want to talk about or any other key moments, I think we've pretty much put the topic to bed for now. Because I mean, at this point, they don't even know if it's going to be Harris. I know Biden supposedly endorsed her, but that was after the letter, and we still haven't seen or heard from him. So I kind of, oh, good Lord, now they're talking foreign languages in the chat.
Yeah, I've actually got to make the Tiny Tyrants lunch because the color guard camp starts tomorrow, and they get to do all this outside in the heat from 8 to 4. So,
but
make sure she has water.
Oh yeah, they always
lots of
make
water.
sure we bring it. So
And I would say get her some liquid IV because that's what I use to stay hydrated. I drink one of those a day.
oh yeah, I may have to look into those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just basically you're making your own Gatorade, but it doesn't have all the sugar. And I know Rick has the one
TMO.
that's an appetizer, but that's also an energy drink, isn't it, Rick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that liquid IV
One of
stuff.
these-
I haven't never had any, but I know people that do. They say they like it.
Well, no, the Dubby stuff actually they have energy and they have hydration. I don't think they have anything that's both together.
Okay. Well, I remember the energy, but the liquid IV I learned about when my wife was with her friend that passed away from cancer 4 years ago. She was the primary caregiver, and the doctor recommended that to help keep her friend hydrated because South Georgia, no air conditioning in the house, and guess what? So that's what, and yeah, it works. But I wouldn't drink more than one.
I think the worst heat that I ever experienced, I was in Louisiana at Fort Polk, and I was like 8 months pregnant in July in Louisiana. So it was miserable.
Well, it's Louisiana, so
yeah.
The
gumbo.
Yeah.
No, I mean, food down there is excellent, but I hated living there.
Well, you obviously weren't doing it right because you're supposed to drink every time you cook. I've seen the Cajun cook.
I was pregnant most of the time I lived there and then breastfeeding for the rest of it, so I couldn't drink.
You know, see, this new thing where women can't drink while they're pregnant. I mean, that is what's wrong with society nowadays. You know, smoking, drinking.
Fetal alcohol syndrome is real. Then again,
now.
Lance, yeah. I have a cousin named Lance who I have another cousin, Brittany. She's the oldest. Then it's Lance. Then it's me. And Lance, when he was just barely walking, this is when his parents like played the company softball games and everything. And so they were all at the ballpark one day. And my uncles decided they were going to sneak beer in his bottles. Well, Lance didn't know it, and he grabbed one of the bottles and drank the entire thing. And apparently that's when he took his first steps.
See, gave him superpowers.
Yeah. I mean,
he's like barely
eating
2
lead,
years old.
eating lead paint, licking on asbestos.
It made me worry for just a second because he was talking about the fetal alcohol syndrome and then started naming names. I was like, honey, they may be listening.
Even Lance loves that story. He thinks it's hilarious.
I had my first beer when I was 4, and it was one of those 40-ounce Miller, not Miller Lights, but a Miller Genuine Drafts, you know?
Yeah.
Gold cans. Yeah. I stole it and hid up under the back porch and drank it.
That explains so much.
Yeah.
I remember my first one because, okay, I think most of y'all know, like, my daddy, before like things got better, was a really bad alcoholic when I was growing up. And I don't remember where we were coming home from, but I remember him carrying me up the stairs. So I had to be like maybe 4 or 5 or so. And he had a beer in his hand, and I asked if I could try it. And he was like, well, yeah, you can try it, but you're not going to like it. So I take this big old swig, and I don't even swallow it. I spit it back out in the can. And Daddy got mad.
You didn't waste
he didn't want to drink it after that. It was a waste.
If you like beer enough, you're gonna go ahead and drink it. I mean, it's
I
your
don't
own
remember
kids.
if he did or not, but he was just like, that is nasty.
Gavin Newsom has bent the knee.
What do you mean? What do we miss?
He's falling in line behind the commie llama.
Oh yeah, endorsing and all that, falling on that.
He's the one that I figured probably would have stepped up if they were going to do some type of coup.
That
He's
is
probably hoping she'll follow him. Then oh wait, never mind.
Yeah, they that is kind of interesting because I figured it'd be when the DNC they would open it back up.
Well, actually, they still got to convince the delegates to vote for her.
Exactly, yeah, the delegates. So I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, let me rephrase that. I will be surprised if Harris is the nominee after the convention.
I say, isn't she already going around like trying to lock down the delegates?
Oh, for sure she is. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, she's been on the phone all day trying to lock him down.
I say, I think Sam was talking about that in the writer chat and everything because somebody covered it just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, she already ordered 3 new pairs of knee pads because she's getting serious.
She's gonna wear them out real quick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hang on. This is interesting. I just saw this. I think it's been out for a little bit, but I just saw it. So this is, I guess, an actual official report about it. So this is and I'll just go ahead and share the screen. Let me make sure I don't have anything weird up, like chats or anything, because X is kind of weird. But
OnlyFans for Amber Rose.
No, that's on another tab, just in case.
It's on my phone. We're good.
But no, so this is from Breaking 911. Wow, Frank Biden, Joe Biden's brother, says the president's health absolutely played a major role in his decision to drop out and insinuates his brother may not have much longer to live.
Oh, wow.
I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have. I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left. And this is the actual report from it.
Younger brothers, and here's what he told us. He said, I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left. He is a genuine hero. Country over self. It sounds corny in our cynical political environment, but he nor I are cynical. The goal remains the same: defeat Trump and continue the work that Joe has done. My hope is that our party rallies around this heroic act. We asked him whether he feels that his brother's overall health and vitality played a major role in this decision, and he says, in my humble opinion, absolutely. So a member of the president's family now confirming that the president's health was indeed a major factor in this decision, and calling his brother a hero for making the decision to pass the torch to Kamala Harris.
I want to say Joe Biden.
So Nancy, sorry, can you clarify that the family is saying his health was or was not a factor?
He's saying that in his humble opinion, yes, the president's health and vitality played a considerable role in his decision. It's important to note Frank Biden is not speaking for the family writ large. This was simply a conversation between CBS News and Frank Biden. Unclear how much input he had in this decision, but he says that he believes that his brother's health did play a role, and he says that the goal remains the same: to defeat Donald Trump.
Well, that is notable because to date, the family, the White House, the establishment has rejected the premise that there was anything that was challenging the president's mental acuity or his health, and that all these accusations were baseless, that it was just age and a few, difficult nights like he had on the debate stage. So that is a change in message.
There.
It sounds like Frank may have been talking out of turn there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, quite possibly, but this explains a comment I saw earlier that I didn't have any context for. Ellie Dowd on X, otherwise known as our disclaimer babe, about an hour and a half ago, asked the question, who the absolute fuck is Frank Biden? Now we know, because I didn't know what she was talking about.
Nico.
But yeah, so I mean, this thing just keeps getting weirder and weirder. I mean, there's now, and it's like John Katz said earlier, and there's other people that I've heard basically saying the same thing, that that he may already be gone, and that's why they're doing everything through letters.
Yeah, I wonder if it wouldn't have been easier, or maybe not easier is the right word, but if he would have died in office, that would have opened up more possibilities legally for the Democrats to move forward. You know, if he's really that close to the end, why not prop him up until they can use that? I don't know. Maybe they had some decency after all. Nah.
Or maybe it's just because
I mean,
they can't put him out there anymore. They know they can't because
Yeah,
it's gotten so
especially
bad.
if, like Andrew was saying, if he did actually have a stroke or something that pushed him past that point, they
Yeah.
wouldn't have no choice.
Yeah.
So that actually
So
does make some sense.
Here's another interesting take from Rep. Mike Collins from about an hour ago at this point. Why is the White House chief of staff calling cabinet officials about this purported decision by Biden and not Biden himself? This looks like a bloodless coup. Does the president know he's not running for election? Does he know he's still running the country? Has anyone even seen him today?
It's starting to point that way. Less conspiracy theory to likelihood now, you know.
Well, I mean, as Ordy and I point out on Juxtaposition all the time, it used to be about a decade between conspiracy theory to fact. Then it became about 6 months. Now we're getting to within days.
Oh yeah, now 6 days.
It's from news cycle to news cycle
and now,
at this point.
yeah, about to say this week it went from a decade to 6 months to 6 days to 6 hours. You know.
Well, I think he's had a stroke. He might have had a heart attack. I mean, he's 81 years old with COVID. He could have had heart failure.
True.
Right?
He's
I
been
mean,
jabbed
we
how
don't
many
know, and I'm not sure. Part of it, I think, is Hunter and Jill don't want to give it up.
Yeah. For sure, I
Right?
think it's mostly Jill, which makes me hate her because, you know, I watched very close family members suffer from stuff like this. And like I said, it's straight up elder abuse at this point.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, she can't afford to buy all those couches that she dresses herself in.
Oh.
This is going to be an interesting week, and I'm in conferences all week.
I hate to say this, but I said this a few days ago when he first announced COVID. What if it's not COVID, and what if Hillary got to the chef?
Well, I'm wondering too, how many times was Biden boosted and vaxxed and
I
everything?
mean, he's had pretty much every vaccine and booster known to man, but I mean, we all know for a fact those damn things don't work. But
I
that's
don't
where-
think I don't think he was ever boosted anything because they knew it was dangerous. He
I
was
about to
getting
say, if he actually did get the vaccine and the booster, obviously, no, we always have known that they were not actually a vaccine,
yeah.
but they cause all these other health problems that include things like strokes and blood clots and heart issues.
And they're finding a lot of that out now.
Yeah.
But
And so if he actually did get it, I mean, that kind of would make sense.
He never got them because of
They
those,
knew that.
because they knew what it could do. So they wouldn't risk it. He never got it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that with the politicians and everything, it was all for show. It was probably saline or something.
I'm going to tell you right now, Kamala Harris is Hillary Clinton. My tweet's going to come true. I know it scares everybody, but I'm telling you right now, have you ever seen them in the same room together?
I don't think
Well,
so.
I mean, if you've ever listened to them laugh.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying you may have a point because if you've ever heard
Yeah.
them laugh, they both have a very similar cackle.
Most
And
witches do.
Well, it's that very like uncomfortable laughter, like that they're trying to present as, you know, being amused or, you know, finding something
Well,
fun, but it's very uncomfortable, and you can tell because they're not used
That's
to
because lizard people don't have the same vocal cords and their jaws and tongue can't move properly.
I was about to say, it's like, yes, I am a real human.
Jeff knows about that.
So
Kamala looks a lot like a lizard, and I mean, there's the song.
well, I mean,
From like the Rick and Morty.
she'd make a good lot lizard. Oh wait,
Well, I mean, she already does kind of look like a lizard. So if that's Hillary's suit, like it's not a very good one.
Just think though, if Kamala Harris becomes president, think of all the negotiation skills she's bringing to the table.
or under the
under
table.
the table.
Yep. Yep. And speaking of that, Kamala, though, when they first announced that Kamala was running for going to be vice president, I got so excited about the old wrestler. You remember Kamala, the Ungandhi giant, you know?
Yep.
And I was so freaking excited. I was pumped. And then I saw it was some old weird woman instead of Kamala, the wrestler that I knew.
Now, you know, Bill, whenever he visits the White House, if Kamala's president, he's going to be like, Hillary, where are my cigars?
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey,
Yeah,
Hillary, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to go look for my humidor.
Yeah. Bill's like, you mean that was an option? I could have just had a vice president that would do that?
Oh, so this is interesting. This is actually something I meant to bring up earlier, and then we got sidetracked. So Senator Joe Manchin, who is an independent, says he's considering re-registering as a Democrat to challenge Kamala in their mini primary. So
I'm wondering if Robert Kennedy.
all I'm going to say is that in the next month, stock up on your popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if Kennedy's going to get in.
You know, I was wondering that too. If he's going to stay at third party like that, or if he's going to try to come back in.
He never dropped his. I didn't think he dropped. He was just running.
I thought he moved to independent. He was going to be running as an independent, or maybe that was just what I was assuming. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but I hope he runs third party.
No, Kennedy, as far as I know, is running third party. I don't think he can change it now at this point.
I don't think so either. I think he'd have to drop out. I don't think he'd be able to just switch over.
All right, so got something that wound up being a little more prophetic than anybody wanted it to be, I think. Short little clip from our friends over at Maze.
I'm not being facetious. Well, President Harris led this effort. I'm not being facetious. Well, President Harris led this effort.
So, prophecy or slip up? You decide.
Yeah.
Just
I
saying.
love the deadpan look right to the camera from Kamala there when he started talking. God, he's
All right, guys. Any final thoughts? Because we've been going now for almost 2 hours and 40 minutes with only one break, and it's been a really long day for me. So I think we're going to shut things down a few minutes early.
Look, what we
final
had
thoughts on the way out
was
the door?
we had this whole thing about when you looked at the Biden versus Trump, and you think of the 300 million people in the United States, this was the best two we could come up with to run. And finally, one of them steps down, and we're thinking, cool. Well, now the one that's stepping into his place is like, oh my God, that's even worse than the one that just left. So the choices we have to actually pick from right now, why is the bar so low? And that's what frustrates me.
Well, I mean, the bar's so low because, I mean, to quote Spaceballs, we're surrounded by assholes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just the truth of it anymore.
Well, I guess in 2028, I'm just got to do it myself and throw my hat in the ring, you know.
Oh, Jeff, you're just reminding me of how much work I have tomorrow because, God, her presser is going to be insane. I wonder if she'll even do a press conference tomorrow. I bet Sideshow Bob takes the day off. She's gonna pull a Biden and call in dead.
Yeah.
What a little.
I'm gonna let y'all close out, but I'm gonna get her stuff ready for tomorrow.
Everybody say bye to Laura.
Yep,
Good
Laura's
night,
stepping
guys.
out.
Night, Laura.
Yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and shut down here too. I think just go ahead and call it a night.
Yeah, why don't you remind folks where it is that they can find you, and then you can drop off whenever you're ready.
Laura, you can find her as Bump Stock Barbie on X. She also writes as Laura W for Twitchy. And I'm Bump Stock Ken on X, and we both do the Talk Murder to Me podcast every other Saturday. This coming Saturday will be our next show from 8 p.m. Central to 10 p.m. We're going to have a special guest. Mrs. Elda is going to be with us. We'll be talking about nurture versus nature. Most of the times we talk about all things true crime and in murder. So that's where we're at.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. And I think Andrew and I will close things out here in the next few minutes. So you're free to drop off whenever you're ready.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of it. And thanks for having us on.
Not a problem.
Glad you could join us, Ken. There,
All
Dan.
right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
All right. So what about you? Any final thoughts as we start winding this thing down for the night?
Oh, I think I'm going to have to put in a store of popcorn.
Yeah. I want to figure out how to buy stock in Orville Redenbacher at this point.
Yeah, I'm just going to go for a popcorn mutual fund because I don't think any of the big ones can keep up with it. Do all of them.
It's just, I don't know, dude. It's funny, and this is how I open the show, but I feel it's appropriate to close the show because we've had so many people coming in and out. We all started 2020, or we all started 2024 thinking it was basically going to be a clone of 2020, and it's turned into anything but. Like, because I mean, in like 2016, we had like 17 candidates running, and nobody knew who the nominee was until pretty much everybody had voted. In 20, we knew who our nominee was, and we were assuming it was going to be a shoo-in, and then it wasn't. Now in 24, we didn't know who our nominee was. Most of us didn't want this particular nominee because we didn't want the geriatric grudge match. And now it turns out we're not getting that anyway. But the electorate on the right decided from basically day one, as soon as he said he was running again, that's our guy. We know what they did to him the last time. That's our guy. We don't care. And everything they threw at him seems like it made him even stronger. And it's like I said earlier, I think that was part of the plan because they thought that he was the one that they were going to be able to beat. So they started all of this stuff just to try to galvanize the right, and then hoping that at some point one of these 40 some odd different separate charges and all these other different indictments and everything else would eventually cook his goose. And then in between legal missteps and everything else that's come out along the way, every single one of those cases is slowly blowing up in their faces. Even the one that started off with them winning, like the case, the money case in New York, where now because of how hard they've come after him with those civil charges. Now everybody in all the investors in New York are like, no, we're leaving. I mean, and Gavin Newsom is facing the same thing in California. He's got people leaving him in droves as he's run his entire state into the ground, and he was convinced. He's still
Elon's
convinced
leaving.
to be president in 28. I mean, yeah, because of that bill that he just signed into law, even Elon's leaving. I mean, as everybody keeps joking, now all of the X's are in Texas.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the problem is until the debate, right? Because up until that point in time, they could cover for him. And then when they had the debate and Biden self-destructed on the debate stage with everything geared towards him in his favor, that's when a lot of the rank and file, not your elites that were covering, but the people that didn't know and were believing what they were being told, saw with their own eyes and like, okay, he is broke. And this ain't right. They couldn't hide it anymore.
Nope. And then and then basically all the rats started jumping off the ship. But I still, when the first thing I saw was a letter, just something about just one of my instincts kicked in, and I'm like, something's not right. And pretty much everybody, on social media is like, this isn't how this should have happened. I mean, look, you can like Biden, you can dislike Biden. You can be kind of like me and be pretty much indifferent to Biden as far as president, but look at the man as far as his family practices and stuff and be like, you're an asshole. Because that's pretty much where I am. Because his presidency was orchestrated by everyone else. So he doesn't even deserve any of the credit for anything that they say that he did that was good, because it wasn't even him that was doing it. But you can look at his past and look at the way he treated his family. And I have huge issues with that. So even that being said, them doing what they've done to him is unprecedented. Has never, as far as I know, nothing like this has ever happened before, not even close. And for them to, I mean, and again, just going back to it, because the closest we got was 16, because the establishment Republicans were so pissed off that Trump got the nomination that they wanted a reset. And the media would have none of it, which is why it never really got a chance to move forward. But now it's the media calling for the reset with Biden. When it was our side wanting to do that, they were like, you're trying to subvert democracy. You're a bunch of authoritarian tools. Okay. I know that for you guys, that was 8 years ago, but and you have the memory of goldfish, but here we are, and y'all are doing the same thing. And now you're okay with it because you know that he can't beat him. Not only do you know that he couldn't beat him, but there's a good chance he might not have been around long enough, even if he did beat him. But this is the part that doesn't make any sense to me, because if they have, in fact, found a way to do away with the man and managed to blame COVID to do it, and unless that's the announcement that comes out in the next couple of days, because that's why they put in the letter that, in the next few days, I'm going to address the nation and let everybody know what my future plans are. I wouldn't be surprised if they did do something nefarious, that in the next few days, they'll just put out the announcement that he passed away in his sleep or something.
I called. I said this. I think they're going to Dave him.
Yeah, without the replacement.
Yeah, we're not at the beginning of the movie. We're at the end of the movie.
Pretty much.
And yeah, Jeff posted in the green room a murder. And that's the link that I posted there. Well, see, Jeff's right. Not everything's showing up there, because I put in right after that post there, if you want to see a murder, click the link. And Sam murdered JoJo from Jers.
Nice.
She deserves it.
All right. Why don't you remind folks where it is that they can find you?
In New Hampshire tomorrow when I get there.
New Hampshire.
I'll wave at Jeff. Yeah, I got a conference. I got a conference this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have a conference in New Hampshire.
Is it a clown conference?
What's that?
Is it a clown conference?
No, but there's a taco shop right next to the hotel, so it's the only reason I'm going.
Nice.
They're like, hey, we need you to come out to a conference. And I'm like, really? There's tacos. There's a Taco Rio right next to the hotel. Okay. But you can find me on X at Nuke MM1 Retired. And I guess this Wednesday, if you need somebody, I'll be available for the whole. And if G can't make it, you can always go along with whatever. But G's supposed to make it this week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's supposed to be back this week. If something changes, I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking you could do like you did before and go long. And also whenever we have something like this going on with KLRN, I try to get on and talk and everything. So, but you can also find me on KRLN Radio the last Wednesday of every month with Rick, G, Ordy, and Aggie, our barmaid, for Toxic Masculinity, where we're just toxic and being masculine about it.
Nice. All right, folks. Like I said, we're going to knock off about 10 minutes early by the time I finish my spiel. But as far as me, you can find me tomorrow afternoon, Monday through Friday, Rick Robinson Show live right here at KLRN Radio. Also available on Rumble, YouTube, X, and Facebook, as well as Spreaker and Live 365. You can find me Tuesday nights producing for, actually, I'm sorry, I also produce most Monday nights, the Red Wine, and that is now 8 to 10 Eastern.
8 to 10 Eastern, but isn't that every other Monday?
No, it's every Monday except for the first Monday of the month.
Okay.
I keep forgetting to plug them because anyway. And then Tuesdays I produce for the Cocktail Lounge. That is 8:30 p.m. Eastern right here live on KLRN Radio. Wednesday's usually a full boat for me. So you've got the Rick Robinson show first. Then Wednesday nights I do whatever with Stacy, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. Usually the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio show at 8 p.m. Eastern. Last Wednesday of the month that turns into Toxic Masculinity. And then after that I produce for the
FUBAR.
Usually FUBAR. I think they're off this week, so I guess I do have a hole in programming one way or the other. I kind of forgot about that. And then Thursday, I'll be doing, again, Rick Robinson in the afternoon, and then Jen and Rick, 10 p.m. Eastern. Friday, back around with Aggie Reekin doing He Said, She Said, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Still filling in for the incomparable Mickey Blowtorch, who's on extended hiatus. This next Saturday, I will be producing for Talk Murder to Me, but not behind the microphone. That is 9 p.m. Eastern. And then Sunday back around doing the America Off the Rails show at 10 p.m. Eastern. When I'm not doing all of that, you can find me as the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, which usually drops on Tuesdays. I'm a contributor at theloftusparty.com, misfitspolitics.com, and twitchy.com. And if you need more of me than that, let's face it, you definitely do not. You can also, oh yeah, I forgot about Rick and Orty. Anyway, yeah, Rick and Orty, 9 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern, sorry, on Wednesdays. And then I usually do so well with this stuff, but it's been a long week.
You need to just put it as a scroll across the bottom.
I'm actually working on that now. No, Jeff, you have a sitting invitation to Toxic. You've never taken me up on it, sir.
Well, actually, he might be too toxic. He is alien.
That's beside the point.
You know, if he cuts himself, he might have acid all over the place, and then where are we going to be?
Oh, good point. All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Like I said, we usually do about 3 hours on Sunday night. We've done almost that with only really 2 breaks to speak of, the beginning break and the one at the top of the first hour, between first hour and second hour. So we're going to get out of here. I'm Rick Robinson. He is Andrew, and eventually we'll get him back doing his own podcast again from the basement. But this is the point where I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this particular broadcast, she's over. As soon as I make sure I have the right thing open here, and I do.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Does my heart so good.
Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. This is fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. Game over.
Closing time.
Come back tomorrow afternoon. It's not goodbye forever, just for tonight.
I'll be there. I'll be listening.
Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.